Get up and get out. Get out. Get out.
I have a question for you.
Say Christ is Lord. Say Christ is Lord. Say it. You say Christ is Lord. Get out. Get out. Christ is Lord.
Hello and welcome in to another episode of Offensively Accurate, hosted by yours truly, Atlas Thugged, and welcome in everybody. I do appreciate seeing everybody here. And it's been a crazy week. It's been a wild week, and I do apologize for missing yesterday. I just had to take a day off, and you could probably tell, and maybe you will tell throughout the this episode that I'm seemingly somehow sick again. I have no idea how that is working out, but we are making it through. And today's going to be a fun episode because I'm irritated. Irritated at just the overall nature of what the current news cycle is, but also irritated at the way that we are breaking away from a new grifter class, like not a grifter class, a gatekeeper class, right? We're on the apex point of Seth Dillon and Joel Berry and Josh Hammer and the OG gatekeeper class losing its power, right? Its grasp is coming off of the Republican Party through a lot of these net positive instances like, Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes. And it's inside of that I'm realizing there are more smaller, lower level gatekeepers being built. Maybe they already existed. We'll get into that. More so the overall story is it's a Republican Civil War. We have, COVIDs, but it's a Republican Civil War. This is the America First versus Israel First. This is the fight. And I think it's abundantly clear, anybody who's been on X for any part of the last, 24, 48 hours, if they've seen the nonstop stream of quote tweets of, I believe his name is Kevin Roberts, the Heritage Foundation president, coming out and giving a statement only for him to walk it back about a couple hours ago, basically expanding upon what he doesn't like about Nick Fuentes. He also did a little interview with Dana Loesch as well. I wouldn't put too much stock into the people who gave birth to Project Esther. I don't really understand where the sentiment came from. Maybe it does look like they caved to the pressure of all of the Karens kind of screaming and such. But the overall point was made, I think, best by Nick, actually. I don't know if it was last night's show or 2 nights ago. But what you have is you have all of these people, whether it's Hammer or Levin or Loomer or Randy Fine, who Randy Fine's the worst, Josh Hammer included. They have been nonstop basically saying glass Gaza, blow up these kids. Abby Libby has like that one constant used photo of, she's like, I don't care how many dead Palestinian children it takes. They need to watch their kids die. These are the people that are telling you that this interview is like the most monstrous thing they've ever seen. The people gloating about blowing up kids across the planet are the ones telling us, you're an idiot if you even give it any credibility at all. And additionally, so it could go even further than that. I think what's more monstrous is the fact that there was Palestinians who were protesting at the fact that the officers who were literally sexually assaulting their prisoners of war with metal rods were being court-martialed. Who's the monster in that story? And why didn't the media cover it? But again, it's another story for another day. We have a lot of topics, actually, many topics. We are going to cover the fact that Kash Patel and Joe Kent have a little bit of a beef, some tension there. Although it seems to be not much, it does show that there is clearly opposing factions inside of the Trump administration. From there, we will cover a little bit. We're going to look at the actual article from Josh Hammer. I do have the archive pulled up. I'm not sure if he eventually took it down or not, if it's still up, but I do have the archive of it. It's a aggressive article, and I ended up listening to about a 50-minute take from Harrison Smith about the article, going through it basically line by line. And there was a great coverage of that. But basically, all you need to know about the article was it was a euphemism and basically a call that Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes need to be neutralized. We will cover the fact that the Heritage Foundation president did give out a statement, and we're going to actually look at his follow-up statements more so than the actual original statement, because I believe in short order, in a matter of a couple of hours, this guy basically caved. And I didn't put much stock into it in the first place because do we seriously expect that Kevin Roberts is going to come out and say, we're starting to pack in the Project Esther. We're not going to try to, have a public-private partnership with this censorship apparatus that clearly is for the interest of Israel, right? For the interest of the 2%. No, I don't expect that at all. And quite frankly, he's doing this media tour already, and I'm not surprised. This is typical. It's typical. You can't give an ounce of expectation to any man in this current political climate to not be a raging cuck and a coward. Within minutes, his wife probably texted him that you need to not say whatever it was. He caved. Then we also have Andrew Klavan having some of the most insane statements I've seen, maybe ever. The one in particular was about the comparing the crucifixion to the Holocaust, and let's just say we'll cover it when we get to it. Asmongold is incredibly based, and this is another segment actually, the fact that Asmongold is being basically compared. It's kind of a compare and contrast between the recent comments from Nick Fuentes from last night that has got everybody clipping it, everybody going wild, if you will, not understanding what his this new push for what seems to be civic nationalism. And I do have to say the clip is pretty rough, but I wanted to make sure that instead of just watching the clip, I watched the entire show from front to back yesterday. And this is what I'll tell you, is preceding that comment is a strong kind of push against what Western civilization is, what Rome is, and the original, who is Rome, right? We are Rome. But also after that is another like 20-minute kind of segment about America being a Christian nation. And so it's kind of confusing overall. I mean, I think it's going to be very confusing if you look at just that small clip. But in the overall, maybe it was a slip up. Maybe I would imagine he's going to expand on it tonight. And if he doesn't, then we'll have more to talk about on Saturday for the Groyper Report. But I would just like to see him expand on what he really meant by that, because no, Vivek Ramaswamy is not as American as you and I. But I will say this, what I kind of got an idea from, or what I thought maybe this possibly was, is if you look at it strategically, where we are right now is it looks like we basically have, we're in a tug of war, right? America first versus Israel first. And what it feels like, if you were to kind of use an analogy, it feels like maybe we are on the point of, we're about to get the blue team to cross the line. And so maybe this was a push to get everybody involved, to push against, Israel first. Maybe it was more strategic than anything. And that I could understand, but I don't think it came across and hit the audience the way that they would have liked to it. But again, a lot of this is having to compete with people who only watch the clip and are arguing from that. It's like, I mean, I would hope that you wouldn't do that to me, right? I would hope if somebody sent you a 30-second clip of me and you would just be like, oh, let's make an entire argument out of this 30-second clip and then remove, I don't know, the last couple of years I've been talking. And then, I just think it's not a genuine way to go about it. We are going to cover the TPUSA Charlie Kirk event. This is actually the thing that actually got me irritated, because I got into a little bit of a spat with Crusader Pepe. Ultimately, I'm not responding because I'm kind of abhorred at how disingenuous this guy is. And this is an account I've followed for a while. I mean, I was kind of just like blown away about how disingenuous he was being, because there's this push now, and I'm sure many of you have seen it. There's this photo and there's this video floating around, and it shows Erica Kirk basically caressing the back of J.D. Vance's head. And it's not just that one as well. There's also I believe a moment that happened afterwards where she's talking with Jesse Waters. And again, there's just minor oddities in there where she's like touching the arm, all of these things that, if you're a married woman, right, you shouldn't be doing. You shouldn't be just touching other men. But overall, just poor optics. And the push seems to be there from Crusader Pepe and whatever his ilk is that if you talk about it in any kind of way or any kind of light, that you are essentially you're giving in to the left, you're helping the left. And it's like, no, it's like, how about you don't set terms about what I'm allowed to talk about? And I mean, I believe, and we'll look at the tweet verbatim here, just because they could piss me off so bad. He literally said verbatim, "You are an enemy if you talk about this. I mean, like literally says that. And then, I mean, the end of our conversation is like, what are you saying I'm pushing? We'll get into that. Beyond there though, we also have some smaller things too. Like there was a CEO that goes by the name of James Fishback, who's a CEO of Azoria. And he had this funny moment where everybody was kind of going after him saying, bro, you're supposed to hide your power levels. And that's because he had a public statement about his exclusion from companies being a part of I believe it's an organization that he runs, if they have a heavy reliance on H-1Bs. And so he basically gave a public statement of like, this is why we are excluding these companies that are heavily and almost solely relying on H-1Bs to have a profit model. And Tim Pool's back in the news, not for any good reason at all. But Tim Pool, many of you probably have not seen this because again, the mass media covers literally nothing of importance that you would want to see. We see a lot of just nonsense. But Tim Pool is actually suing a former employee who goes by the name of Chris Bertman. Chris Bertman, many of you may know, actually had a solid streak maybe about a year ago. We had a bunch of viral tweets kind of rip off one after another. No, I don't believe Chris Bertman ever really was on camera much. I believe he was more so of a reporter. But supposedly Tim Pool is suing him because of stuff that this guy did on his paternity leave. So we will we'll get into that too. And it's funny because the news of the lawsuit that Tim was suing this guy like came out after like an hour after Tim Pool tweeted about his company's net worth. And so we can get into, you know, what the morality is there too as well. And we'll cover that story a little bit. And then for community submission, I had a few to pick from. Ultimately, I was only able to incorporate one. And thank you again for House AI. It sent me like 10 of them in the tinfoil hat in the Discord. And if you guys do want to reach me, the Discord is the easiest way to do that. And then is a story about the fact that the New York AG, Letitia James, the fattest, well, she's not the fattest black woman, but she's a pretty large black one who went after Donald Trump, is seemingly going after another political figure she deems to dislike or wants to silence, I should say. And she's targeting a castle in West Virginia as it is like very loosely connected financially to this guy. And it's largely because he has a lot of very strong anti-immigration stances. And so we'll get into that. I have the article for that one too. And then the gay of the day section, I wish it didn't have to be this expansive, but the gay of the day may have to be like a whole 4-hour segment because man, it is getting gay. Allie Beth Stuckey is continuing to be elevated and watching her AstroTurf continue to rise. We'll look at some quote tweets from that because once again, she had another like 2-minute segment basically coming out and telling men that they need to listen to women and that, they need to do a better job while returning nothing. So we'll cover that. And then some smaller kind of cooler clips, both from Piers Morgan. We have Katie Miller, who's the wife of Stephen Miller, had maybe one of the worst meltdowns I've ever seen. And that's saying something because she was on a panel with like Cenk Uygur and some other guy I really don't know. And it was all about their takes on Israel. And she was like, do you see how this is coded language, Piers? How are you going to let them talk like this, Piers? And they're just calling them anti-Semites. It was more funny than anything. And I think maybe the most important bit from Piers Morgan I've probably seen in the last few months is actually the Dave Smith taking on Seth Dillon. And the clip in particular is the fact that Dave Smith is challenging Seth Dillon to be the one to challenge Nick Fuentes. Instead of doing all the sniping and constantly complaining, bitching, and moaning about everyone else who is willing to have Nick Fuentes on, Dave Smith basically says, how about you do it? How about you challenge him? Instead of sitting here from your ivory tower constantly complaining about every person who does decide to do such things, why don't you do it? Well, we know why Seth Dillon won't do it. We know why Joel Berry exits the space after about 5 minutes. It's because they know they would not be able on the same level playing field to intellectually debate the ideas that come from Nick Fuentes and win. They need an uneven playing ground, and because a debate on publicly being recorded is that they won't ever have it. We'll cover that too. So with that, guys, let's get into it today.
Cut straight through, offensively accurate, that's the view.
So the first story that we're going to be looking at today is a story that kind of has been slightly proliferating a little bit in the media, although it's not really taken much wings. And I read through the whole New York Times article actually earlier, and there wasn't much there either. Really what this story is so, and you can read this here, I'll read it for you from Timcast News. Developing FBI Director Kash Patel reportedly confronted counterterrorism chief Joe Kent after Kent reviewed FBI files to probe possible foreign ties to Charlie Kirk's assassination. Kent, a top aide to Tulsi Gabbard, believed foreign actors could have aided accused shooter Tyler Robinson. Patel argued that Kent was overstepping and risking the FBI's ongoing case. Now, quite frankly, actually, that was not the argument from Patel that the New York Times had highlighted. The New York Times, let me pull this up here. This is the archive here from the New York Times. They argue, where is it here? They say overstepping, treading, but the real argument was essentially that him doing this, if Joe Kent pushes more so, and I'll get the white screen off, I know it bothers you guys. More so the argument though being that by Joe Kent inquiring into this and looking for foreign actors, it's going to take credibility away from the fact that Tyler Robinson was a lone shooter. And overall, what you really have, I mean, to the person reading the headline, is what it looks like is that Kash Patel is seemingly not wanting to turn over every stone, right? The saying is, leave no stone unturned. Kash Patel said, no, you better not touch that stone. And it's curious too, because when you read in that article as well, it also talks about the fact that foreign actors were actually looked at initially when it had first happened. And they had used the fact of the rooftop footage showing Tyler Robinson jumping off a ledge of that height. They had said that kind of gave them an initial feeling that maybe he was told or trained to do that he could have jumped off that height. And so what you really have is a civil war between the Department of Intelligence, basically between Tulsi Gabbard's office and Joe Kent, and Kash Patel and all of his cronies there in the FBI. I would just say this. I think one of the first points I would take with this is, one, it's a terrible look. I mean, the optics are bad. And this is off of the back of Kash Patel basically telling everybody else, let me get this white off too, it's bothering me. And basically telling everybody else too, with the Epstein files, it's a hoax. You going along with what Donald Trump was saying. It is not a good look optically for your head of the FBI to seemingly be the one that's at the forefront of the reason why these things aren't getting out, and saying all these really ridiculous things like getting into Valhalla. The second thing I would say to that too is it's also curious that Joe Kent is seemingly in the news simultaneously at the same time. I think that just by itself is kind of odd, but maybe that is just a direct and kind of pure coincidence. But the biggest thing with that is how weak do you think your argument against Tyler Robinson is if you think that what otherwise probably would have not been a nothing burger, right? You think the jury would have, if you're explaining the story to a jury, if it didn't get proliferated by the New York Times, would really understand like what was being said to them in that? I think Kash makes it look worse. I think Kash should have just said, yeah, go ahead. This is your Office of Counterterrorism, right? You run this. Your number one priority is looking for these kind of terroristic threats that come from these cells, these groups that operate and organize. Yeah, definitely go ahead. But he doesn't. They had like 2 different meetings between Tulsi Gabbard and a bunch of other people there. The one, and if I go back to the article here, the one says it was actually so bad that nothing was achieved. The tensions were so high. I mean, the article's pretty decently long, but they had 2 separate meetings. 2 separate ones. Let me put this on screen so you guys can look at it with me. I know it's bright, but archive's just super bright. Let me find amortorial was the name, it was the word they used, which is very funny. I think it's down here. I promise you I read it. I just don't know which paragraph it was. Yes, right here. The meeting that Mr. Kent attended at the White House was one of 2, intended to ameliorate tensions between the FBI and Mrs. Gabbard's office. The people briefed on the matter said the earlier one, which focused on multiple issues, including the killing of Mr. Kirk, was so tense that little was accomplished. I mean, I'm telling you, that right there makes me feel like Kash knows he has a very, very weak prosecution against Tyler Robinson. And maybe this is more so him just kind of in a desperate kind of clawing, knowing that he's probably going to be made to look like an idiot the closer we get to the case. I would be curious now at this point, like is Kash also maybe pushing for like the cameras to be turned off in this court case as well? Like, Because that's also another ongoing argument too. I believe Jack Posobiec talked to somebody like Isabel Brown, or I don't know. I don't I don't remember women. I'll just be honest with you. But he was having a conversation talking about how we need to keep the cameras on during this case, and I would say it's a huge travesty, knowing when the public knows that this court case is clearly contested to a high degree, not even just in the court of public opinion, but obviously being contested at even the highest levels of government inside the cabinet, right? Inside, well, I don't know if Joe Kent's office falls inside the cabinet, but again, being these high positions here, and you want to turn cameras off and then expect people would obviously go along with it just because that's the nothing ever happens virus is got its grasp around our throats. But I think anyone who's paying attention would go, this is clearly a bad look. What is so heavily attached to this case that they have pulled every single stop out? And we have yet to mention the fact about the gag order. Well, we did previous streams, but these are all of these other elements that kind of add into this. And it is, Costcola, what is that name? Costcola Law School, bro. I couldn't read it. It is all narrative control. And that's the thing. And let me just highlight this comment here, actually. Oh, shoot.
Robinson to label Antifa a foreign terror organization. They don't want other investigations to question that narrative.
Which is true. And that's what I'm saying. I think that it obviously implies that Kash Patel is very nervous that he's going to be made to look like a fool. He's going to be made to look like an idiot. I completely forgot the TTS was turned on. And they're not even labeling trans or Antifa, right? They're not even labeling Trantifa. What they labeled in that, I believe it was a press release from the FBI that Klippenstein had covered, was non-nihilistic violent extremists, NVEs, another catch-all broad term that does not target the recent events, which would have been, in their eyes, if you believe the official narrative, and let's just say for sake of argument, that would have been the Trantifa. It would have been the insane violent trans individuals. It would have been Antifa. And thank you for subscribing. I appreciate it, brother. But we don't get that. We get nihilistic violent extremists. Okay, well, and like my argument then was, okay, well, what's an incel? Right? Can you imagine an incel saying anything, that goes beyond, we're going to get you or something like that? They would probably be thrown under, nihilistic violent extremists. What does nihilistic mean? Right? It's more robust than what black pill is, but it's basically being black pilled. You have a black pilled view of the world, right? You have a view of basically we're all like meat and, electric signals. It's all woe is me, right? I'm doing a poor job explaining it, but a lot of people would fall under that. It's a very broad term. If you just look at how people kind of self-identify in terms of depression, right? A lot of people. Do they all need to be going under a watchdog program? But this is kind of the point. And the point is this is why America First is necessary. This is why constantly griping JD Vance at every event is necessary. Stop saying these halfway things. Say the goddamn truth. Say what we are asking you to say. Do what we are asking you to do. We didn't ask for a broad categorization. We asked for you to take trans people guns away. We asked for you to have a special classification for these violent trans people. They were a clear category. It does not need to be broader than that. So it continues. And it will continue. And you're seeing it. I think the biggest change of rhetoric in my entire life was what JD Vance said at this TPUSA event, which we'll get into, in twofold. One for Israel, but secondly, and I think maybe even more importantly, was his talk about his wife and hoping for her to convert to Christianity. Do I necessarily trust JD Vance? No. But he's getting closer to saying the things we need him to be saying. He's getting closer to sounding like an actual American, not like he was born and rose and spawned from the swamp. That's why. Kash Patel, for one, everybody knows I think he needs to be deported. but he has been a humiliation on the administration. And it could have stopped and started with "see you in Valhalla," and that's all you would have needed. It's almost like he goes out of his way to give examples of the fact that he is not an American, that he's not a Christian. And more so beyond all of that is that he's not what the people thought he was, that he's not doing what he told the people that he would do. Yeah, and Bonnie's just as bad. Don't even get me started on Bondi. Bondi's a whole different thing. But yeah, right. The same guy who's making sure the Epstein files stay hidden is also the guy who's freaking out about his case. I would imagine something else is going on there that the public's not aware of, but you didn't mean to tell you that. And then Alex Jones kind of did a good bit of coverage on there as well too. But like I said, it's I expect more to come from this story as it develops, because again, the court case is a long term. I forget when they're going to convene again. I think it's actually very soon. I need to look into that and be paying attention to it. But let's get into this. Let's get into the Josh Hammer, the Neutralize article, and I'll put this on screen here. This is just some of the reactions to really just the interview between Tucker and Nick, but it's been a continuation, right? And this article from Josh Hammer kind of is that, but not in an ex post form. And so this is once again another archive, and also this is a trick for everybody. If you want to get around ads and ad blockers and all that, just go to the archive version of the website or the webpage of the article. So much easier. But the article reads something like this: Tucker Carlson just hit a new low with his heinous betrayal of my friend Charlie Kirk, who is surely now rolling in his grave. Josh Hammer. Now, this article goes to extreme lengths to obviously paint Fuentes in an awful light, point, I believe, Tucker Carlson more so as being like confused, as less so the evil one. Going full send on anti-Semitism. But the part of the article that really stuck out to most people, and I'm not reading this non-Americans, struggle to write in English, but it's down here. The fox is now comfortably ensconced in the henhouse, and unless the fox is neutralized, the victim could be the entire extant GOP coalition itself. Now, I'm sure many of you probably are well aware that this is the words that was said, but the fact that it was him doubling down on what he had said online, it was the fact that when he posted about it on X in defense of his own self against this article, he clips out the third definition of what neutralize is, which is the military form of it, which does actually mean to neutralize in the way that you and I are both thinking that this article was meant to convey. And the best part about it all is I've never listened to Josh Hammer at all, ever. And I get irritated when I have to hear his ads play between podcast episodes. But I click on one of his YouTube videos to get a screenshot today. And he's had a video out. This is a guy who's been in the news cycle for Lord knows how long, has access to how many, inside, he's, in the inner circle in a lot of things. He's kind of tied up here with Laura Loomer. He's been running this media empire for, I believe, like about 2 or 3 years now or so, writing articles for these different contributors like the Daily Mail for this one. He has a video that was posted like 9 hours ago. Okay, this is the guy who's got all these followers, this massive, it had 4 likes on it. And I think it had like 400 or 500 views. And it did kind of make me feel bad. You never like to see somebody have like that bad of success. And we don't, I am a Christian, right? I don't hate, I don't harbor hatred for people. Obviously, I hate what is evil. But it kind of makes you, kind of humanizes them for you a little bit. You're like, I'm sorry, dude, that's got to be humiliating. Knowing that you're pumping millions of dollars and people still won't click the like button for you. It's like, at a certain point, like, maybe you should just try to be a human being. Maybe you should, like, I don't know, get the hint that people aren't trying to push, like people aren't trying to choke down your constant push of, this Israeli first mentality, this so extreme non-American view of the First Amendment. It's just, it's crazy, absolutely insane. And again, it's kind of like the final breath, right, of the of the machine, of the establishment, this kind of clawing to, it's a plea to the public, really. It's like, it's look at me, look at all my followers. I have a lot of big following, and see, I'm with Trump. I'm clearly someone you should listen to. So take it from me when I tell you not to listen to these people. It's very basic, the poisoning of the well, virtue signaling. There's a lot of things that can kind of fall under that. It's not working. It's not working. And the worst part is, and many people have noticed this too, I don't know if it's the fact that X was given a couple $1 million to help promote the Zionist agenda on X, which we know they were given money from, or if it's just because the algorithm is basically owned by Israel and India. But it is, many people have constantly been complaining. And I never complain about the X timeline for the most part, but I'm going to tell you, the last couple of days, it's the same thing being quoted. Oh, it's the same photo of Tucker and Nick. And it's the same, I'm account. I am Jewish. Yada, 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 anti-Semitic. Oh, whoa, this is Holocaust, whatever, yada, yada. Okay. You go to the next one, and it's like, well, I'm Jewish, and I think, and it's like, okay. And then, but I mean, it's constant. I mean, I think I scrolled, and I think I had 4 or 5 in a row. I wish I would have taken a screen recording of it, but it is so aggressive. Dadsky says he's glad he never had a Twitter account. You'd be in jail. We get into extradited to Florida. we gotta go face Seth Dillon in court. That case is just insane. But actually, great point, and totally wild that I almost forgot about it. So look at that contrast there. So you have Josh Hamer writing an article, I'm assumingly being paid for it, to use a strong euphemism of taking somebody out on an article. We know what he meant by that. But on the other side of that, and now again, I will say in Seth Dillon's case, the one that he had published, the death threat that Seth Dillon had got, that I would say is arguable. It's nuanced. We could definitely have an argument over whether that does actually meet the criteria of a death threat or not. The dude, a rando, is being extradited from Texas to Florida to face charges for that. So what's going to happen to Josh Hamer? Do we have any expectation that, like, even at the slightest bit, he's going to get like a finger wagging that's not just the general negative reaction to the article in the first place? Do you think the FBI you think Kash Patel is rounding up the FBI? We're going to go to Josh Hamer's place. No. But and the question is why? Well, why not? Well, the reason why is because it's exactly the entire argument that Nick has laid out in the last couple of days. There has been, and still is, and hopefully not for much longer, an extreme pro-Jewish, anti-white coalition that has its hands all over the levers of power, the levers of control, the levers of influence, and that we are watching them struggle right now. That's the reason why there are 2 tiers of system of justice, is because they're fine when Hamer says it, because the people who would be the ones who would be doing something about it actually agree with the words that are being said. And even if they don't, they're being paid to not care. And again, I'll go back to what I led this entire show with. All of these people are the same ones that are cheering on when dude, we're and I don't want to go to length some of these stories that I'm seeing. I covered one of the guy who basically cried to the U.S. Embassy over there in the Middle East, and the U.S. Embassy said, I guess you're on your own. They're shooting starving people in the back of the head while they're trying to get aid. They are sexually assaulting them with metal rods. They are leveling the entire area. They are bombing indiscriminately. But again, I could go heavily into detail. They cheer that on. They clap for it. They gloat for it. Randy Fine has made some aggressive tweets about it, right? I've seen many that's like, their blood running through the streets, yada, yada. It gets excessive. And you think, I want to hear what you guys are morally, you find what Tucker and Nick sitting down to have a conversation, that's what you find morally repugnant? And here's the best part. Nick nailed it. They're most mad about the fact, yeah, and this is the best part. They're most angry about the fact that neither Nick nor Tucker asked any of them for permission to have the conversation. They were supposed to, like Tucker, it's like, man, Tucker, you forgot. You're supposed to, you got to phone in to Josh Hammer, Ben Shapiro. You got to get on the call and you need to ask for permission. Hey, Josh Hammer, is it okay if I have a conversation with an American about America on my podcast? Oh, no, it's not. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, I see. Okay. He's a Nazi. All right. Oh, okay. I mean, this is basically kind of like what it's coming off as. And I mean, Nick nailed it. That is kind of the purview. And this is where the Civil War is at. I'm not going to say MAG anymore. America First versus MAGA. America First versus Make Israel Great Again. Those are the two camps. Now, if you find yourself in the latter, I hope you find your way over here. Hope you wake up to the lies that are being sold to you. I hope you wake up to the repackaging and the rebranding of rhetoric continually just to continue to sell you down the river. I hope so. I don't want to be too confrontational. I don't want to be too contentious. I just want people to help wake up. And the more the better. The more that people realize what is actually going on here, the better. And we're going to get into it too as well. Because again, I'm still blown away by how much JD Vance's rhetoric has changed. Not because I don't think he's a sly snake and it's going to change up. I mean, he did that in 2017, right? JD Vance did this in 2017. The plan was to partner himself up with the Lincoln Project, right? Get in the good graces of these guys, the never Trump crowd, because the idea then was that Trump was going to lose the election to Hillary Clinton, and then JD Vance would be able to position himself as a more moderate version of Donald Trump. You know what happened? The whole thing blows apart because Donald Trump wins. Now JD has to change. And that's when JD all of a sudden I'm pro-Trump. Oh, wait, whoa, wow. And this is why I say I don't put any stock into it, right? If you find yourself, for one, making it to 30 years old as a man and you don't have a political orientation, for one, get the hell out of the conversation. For two, I don't buy it. I don't buy somebody that is that involved, is that high up, and is writing books and is being in this kind of network, doesn't know what's going on. Like, I don't buy that at all. And if he doesn't know what's going on, well, then he's dumb and he doesn't need to be president of the United States. So it's like, no way you can look at that. Is there a good side to it for JD Vance? And he is a chameleon. I would agree heavily with that. Very much so. So let's get into the fact of what did the Heritage Foundation say? So the Heritage Foundation, and again, as a reminder for everybody who may not remember or know, they are who is behind Project Esther. They rolled this out in 2023. What was it, 2023? No, it's 2024, I believe was when they rolled it out. Let me find the statement here. But Kevin Roberts is the president of the Heritage Foundation. And I'm just not buying it. I'm just not, and well, I don't buy it. I didn't buy it initially, and I think I was proven right by its follow-up statement. We'll get into that. But almost 18 million views. It's probably going to keep going up. I'd imagine it's going to go super viral, to be honest with you. The president of this organization that gave us Project Esther. Now, what is Project Esther? Well, I've done a lot of coverage over it. I have a short documentary on it if you want to watch that as well, which I think does a good job explaining it. But the idea is basically this. It's basically building a public-private partnership to extend the ideas behind stochastic terrorism to attach themselves to more broader groups, basically kind of choking out networks. Now, they use a bunch of different verbiage through there, right? They have the Hamas Support Network, or HSN, which basically they very loosely define these things. So imagine the Patriot Act, but for Israel, right? It's the Patriot Act, but it's kind of meant to protect anything that would be Jewish or Israel. And they have a lot of these different desired effects in there, a lot of them being, now, and truth be told, at the onset of Donald Trump's presidency, many people believed he was just implementing it without even saying it. And if you listen to, I believe her name's Katie Baker, investigative journalist for the New York Times, she has a lot of coverage on this as well. And I think she had said months ago, this had been 4 months ago now at this point, she said 4 months ago that she does believe about 40 to 50% of Project Esther has already been implemented. And you could see this take place on college campuses. And it's highlighted in Project Esther, college campuses needing to be one of the places to target the most. And why is that? Well, that's because college campuses are one of the last places here on earth where you can have conversations. Now, how open can they be is getting limited by the day, but different areas, different strokes. You can see Myron Gaines on Censored America doing quite a bit more than these other programs. But that's the idea. So when that's what this guy has basically birthed, or his organization has birthed, I guess, don't come for me when I don't buy these statements, when I don't buy that it's genuine or sincere. In fact, I think maybe this was a bit of positioning, and he's already fallen away. He's already caved. But let's get into it. Let's take a listen to this Mr. Kevin Roberts has to say. The caption is, "There has been speculation that Heritage is distancing itself from Tucker Carlson over the past 24 hours. I want to put that to rest right now. Here are my thoughts." In more added context, was supposedly, and I didn't verify this, take it with a grain of salt, was that the Heritage Foundation had taken Tucker Carlson off of their website. So that's what kind of began the speculation, and then obviously the conversation. Here's a clip.
Say on this in the coming days, but today I want to be clear about one thing. Christians can critique the state of Israel without being anti-Semitic.
Oh, we can.
And of course, anti-Semitism should be condemned.
I didn't know I needed permission.
My loyalty as a Christian and as an American is to Christ first and to America always. When it serves the interests of the United States to cooperate with Israel and other allies, we should do so, with partnerships on security, intelligence, and technology. But when it doesn't, conservatives should feel no obligation to reflexively support any foreign government, no matter how loud the pressure becomes from the globalist class or from their mouthpieces in Washington. The Heritage Foundation didn't become the intellectual backbone of the conservative movement by canceling our own people or policing the consciences of Christians. And we won't start doing that now. We don't take direction from comments on X, though we are grateful for the robust free speech debate. We also don't take direction from members or donors, though we are inherently grateful for their support. And we're adding more every day. This is the robust debate we invite with our colleagues, our movement friends, our members, and the American public. We will always defend truth. We will always defend America, and we will always defend our friends against the slander of bad actors who serve someone else's agenda. That includes Tucker Carlson, who remains, and as I have said before, always will be a close friend of the Heritage Foundation. The venomous coalition attacking him are sowing division. Their attempt to cancel him will fail. Most importantly, the American people expect us to be focusing on our political adversaries on the left, not attacking our friends on the right. I disagree with, and even abhor, things that Nick Fuentes says. But canceling him is not the answer either. When we disagree with a person's thoughts and opinions, we challenge those ideas in debate. And we have seen success in this approach as we continue to dismantle the vile ideas of the left. As my friend Vice President Vance said last night, what I am not okay with is any country coming before the interest of American citizens, and it is important for all of us, assuming we are American citizens, to put the interest of our own country first. That's where our allegiance lies, and that's where it will stay.
Yeah, not buying it. Not buying it. It is crazy how much they fear the dude. They have to poison the well so bad on him. I'm sorry, I didn't buy it then. And what I'd like to do is actually go to Nick's response to this here. Let me make this a bit bigger. I know we got some non-whites in here. I'll try to make it bigger so everybody can read that. It's a joke. Nick says, I don't know what exactly you abhor about my views, but we can all agree that free speech, Christ, and America first should be the pillars of our movement. Thank you for your courage in standing up for open discourse and defending Tucker against the Israel first woke right. Which I agree. Thank you for those. Thank you for those kind words. But, I don't believe a word that you said, but they did really, man, they sure sounded nice. So what was his follow-up statement? What did he say as of like an hour or two ago? I caught this. When did he tweet this? 3:04 p.m. Oh man, longer than an hour ago. But it was today, October 31st. And happy Halloween, by the way, for anybody who does anything on Halloween. So what's his statement here? Oh boy, it's wall text. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh Lord have mercy. I'm not reading the whole thing. It's basically a response to him expanding on what he actually abhors from Nick. We just read that response there. I denounce and stand against his vicious anti-Semitic ideology, his Holocaust denial, and his relentless conspiracy theories that echo the darkest chapters. Like, bro, did a woman write this? Fuentes praised Hitler. Oh, thank you for subscribing. Appreciate that. Fuentes praised Hitler, and in the Tucker interview said he's a Stalin admirer. They do these people, man. Fuentes stated that his goal is a total Aryan victory and claimed that black people should be in prison for the most part. Where's the lie? Okay. But it's sampling of his vile daily rhetoric. And it just, I'm not going to read all that. We know what it is. It's kvetching. It's please. And then you can see here from Andrew Torba, as you can see by the gnashing of teeth in the replies to this no level of disavowal or explanation will appease them. You don't owe these people anything. They hate us and want us dead because they hated him and put him to death first. The original statement was fine. How many calls did you get where you made this ChatGPT statement? It's like, but he already did it. Like he already sold. Right? I'm not bringing someone else back in the team. He already sold. You had your moment. You had it for a few hours. And then by the time the morning came, you couldn't stand up to your wife bitching you out. You couldn't stand up to all the hundreds of posts coming in from anonymous accounts and a bunch of Jews that you came on and you said, you know what, I'm gonna retract and whiffle and waffle. No better than the rest, man. He sold, dude. He sold. It's like playing a game of 2K, dude, and he's trying to go to bed. He sold. Come on, man, we needed you on the team, dude. We got a 50-game win streak. How are you going to sell us like this? I didn't have any. I had no hope in him in the first place. And truth be told, doesn't it be a lesson for the majority of any of these people? Do not put faith in them. None. You can't. You simply can't. You have to. They got to prove themselves. And we're in no position at all. Like, there's no compromising. We're not only we're being sold out to an extreme degree, we're getting nothing to an extreme degree, and we're also being shit on to an extreme degree. There is no like, oh, you give me like a breadcrumb and I'm happy. It's like, you either you full send this bitch or you shut the fuck up. And I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not. And I'm not trying to curse either, but that's the message. The message is you're with us or you're not, right? And it goes further to this, like, who is we, right? No more of this kind of, we're all bringing everybody in and like, oh, everybody kind of like hug up. And I guess what? No, dude. No. Not after all of that. But okay, let's kind of change it up. Let's get we'll kind of break the ice a little bit. We'll go back to something a bit more. This is actually just as aggressive. What am I talking about? This is Andrew Klavan's insane statements. You just have to hear them. There's honestly probably no context I could apply to these videos that would make it better, or make it come across any easier. And so here it is. This is the first one. I'm not even going to read the caption. We're just going to play the video. And I want to know some honest reactions from what is being said here.
Let me tell you what the Holocaust was, and this will drive some of you crazy, but it's true. The Holocaust was the crucifixion on IMAX. It was for those who missed the point the first time that this is who we are. This is who people are, that we will take God. If you don't think that Jesus bled when little children were led into a gas chamber, you don't know who Jesus Christ is. I don't care what you say. I don't care how many times you tell me Christ is king. You do not understand what is going on. When you pour let me tell you what the Holocaust was, and this will drive some of you crazy, but it's true.
Listen to it again. Let's see. Listen to it again, right here, right now. Listen to this.
The Holocaust was the crucifixion on IMAX.
The Holocaust was the crucifixion on IMAX. Dude. Hey, Andrew Klavan, I know you probably will never hear this because I'm a literal nobody. Just like Josh Hammer, you need to go home. You either need to go home or you need to stop. And I really, really don't think you're going to stop. But this is the Christian Daily Wire. These are some of the leading Christian figures at the Daily Wire. Ah, yeah, dude. Imagine. I mean, for one, it's blasphemous, and quite frankly, I should probably be a bit more angry than joking this up. But the point stands. This is how they view it. This is how they feel about it. This is the way that they have interpreted it. This is the way that they are trying to pull this over the rest of the world as well. They want everyone else to also hold this belief. Dude, I don't know how Matt Walsh, I don't know how long Matt Walsh is going to be staying at the Daily Wire, man. These comments are aggressive. But I do got to scroll up because Uncle Housey Leotardo is number one top dog. Got to find his comments here. Let me pull this up. Damn it.
The business of progressives is to go on making mistakes. The business of the conservatives is to prevent the mistakes. Uncle Housey Leotardo says. From being corrected. G.K. Chesterton.
See that. Okay. It messed it up on my chat, dude. Why does the text look like that? Okay, apologize. But yes, always have to bring in House in here. Always. Let me get rid of that here. I need to fix the TTS. I'm having issues with the audio separating. So I heard it and you guys didn't hear anything. And then when I turn it on for you guys to hear it, I can't hear anything at all on my end. But we'll fix that. And, one thing I was actually going to explore, to be honest with you, in the same vein, in a similar vein, is going into what appears to be the resurgence of a lot of the Jeffersonian versus Hamiltonian, or Hamiltons. Is that the right way to say it? Jeffersonian versus the Hamiltonian. Is it not Hamiltonian? House will correct me. It's not. I don't think it's Hamiltonian. But that seems to be where the split's coming from. Now, if you want to go deeper than the just the Israel first element, there is a split that's still showing itself from some of the original arguments that went back and forth between the Jeffersonians and the Hamiltonians. Like, this debate has never gotten settled. And what was funny is I think people were talking about Jefferson being a heretic, right? I thought that was funny. But it's true, and there is a lot of this, right? Jefferson being the one who's like talking about Muslims, and it's like, brother, what are you doing, right? Being kind of being the face of the more deist, the less Christian, right? And truth be told, I think that would be an element that does need a further look into. I thought about maybe that would be a great video to make over the weekend and explore some of those concepts. But yeah, Hamiltonian. That's my vibe that I got when I was looking at some of the split. Like, and once you begin to go deeper than just the Israel element, right? The foreign entanglements, there are further splits, and that gets closer to things like race, religion. And we do have to actually explore these things. We can't continually be in this position of having, of not being able to define who we are, what we are. And then the people who are at the top, who are supposedly the mainstream conservatives that are telling us this is what we should be, also they not being able to explain where we came from and what some of the original arguments are. Right. And so you have too many of these elements that are moving. They shouldn't be shifting sands. Like, we should have a rock foundation of what to know. There should be a rock of immovable. It's like, it is a opaque object. It's like no one can even look through it. It's not transparent. It's like, it is. Right. It is. And, there's some truth in what people are saying there too, right? There were some just idiots among the founding fathers. But to treat the founding fathers as like just the smaller sect of the delegates, and not like the thousands of men who also were the ones who were upholding the state churches, who were coming from the families who had put the charters up, whether it was Plymouth Rock or whether it was in Delaware or whether it was in New England. I mean, all these things matter, And so it's the same thing. It's like, okay, a lot of our Republican leaders like J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, do they reflect you? No, obviously not. And so to use the founding fathers as a overall reflection is like, no, it's actually closer to the fact that they were Christian. A lot of them were further right than where the founding fathers were. We need to explore these things more often. And the reason being is because it did hit me hard when Nick was talking about, you don't know politics if you can't explain venture capital. You don't know politics if you can't explain how the American makeup of the economy is structured, right? What percentage is agricultural? What percentage is manufacturing? What percentage is service industry? And these things are true, right? Like the lack of robust nature to our political acumen can't be a long-term thing. And that's more so to talk about like the polymath element of it too, but we have to know these things. We need to have a very strong, I hate to say the word for the 10th time, but robust and comprehensive understandings of the history of this country, as well as the current makeup of it, how it changed, how it got here, and what needs to change for it to improve. Like these things need to be known. We need to leave this kind of very reactive position, right? And we need to be better at defining, and hence why the New American Vision is part of the group that I'm a part of. But enough of me ranting for what feels like no reason. Here's the second Andrew Klavan clip. And again, it's it's about being Jewish. You guessed it. Oh, wow. Surprise, everyone. This is from Aidan Zitter, who's a guy who's actually close to the to one of the Republicans from the Young Republicans who got lambasted in the group chat league. He says Klavan says his being Jewish outranks other Christians and goes on a screed about how Christians need to bend over backward for Jews. He is the exact type of Jew Jesus rebuked. Dear Andrew, worry about your gay son first. So here's the clip.
I want to be clear about what I believe. And this hatred of Jews is a hatred of God. Remember, Paul said that we were grafted on to the tree of the Jews. You were. I wasn't. I was born there. So I outrank all y'all. Okay. So, all right. I'm joking, but still, this God who chose the Jews became everybody's God through Jesus Christ. And I'm going to tell you something,
I think Andrew's Klavan's told me enough things, actually. I think you've said quite too many things, Andrew. I think you should have stopped an hour ago. But there you have it. He can't even help himself, right? Yeah, was that a joke, Andrew? What if I made a joke in the same vein but the other way around? Do you think they'd be laughing at the Daily Wire? No. But that's the point. The point is that everyone knows this. There is this kind of fake, artificial nature and matrix to this entire conversation, in the digital sphere as well as in IRL. Oh, I'm just joking. We do jokes over here, but then if I was to try to make that joke, they would say, well, that was obviously coded language. We all knew what he was trying to say by that, and by we mean us, better men. We are going to decide for you what was said and what he meant. Daily Wire's gotta it needs crushed. It needs crushed into 1,000 bajillion pieces. We'll take Matt Walsh. I don't want nose. You guys can have that, gay Italian. We'll keep Matt Walsh. And the rest can be gone with the wind. Hey, with all the extra time off, they can go finish that Pendragon series that nobody wants to watch from Jeremy Boring. This faulty, this poor theater kid who'd never made anything work and was probably a bad actor. Uncle House says the tree of God. The Jewish branch has been severed. It can be grafted back on if they accept Jesus. Very true. Very true. And I'm not going to make any statements over whether I think Andrew Klavan's actually Christian or not. That's between him and God, and ultimately, maybe even a broader conversation, we can explore that. But the point stands is there's clearly, and it's complex too. It's more than just like a 2-tier system. There's a very complex system that obviously facilitates the way that these conversations are allowed to be had, facilitates how you are allowed to react to it. It facilitates if you have, if you say, well, I think that was weird, it automatically, you get painted as a certain thing. The mechanisms exist, and that continues to be facilitated like that. It's not going to get better with AI either. You know, and checking on Asmongold as well. You know, we'll bring in Asmongold with a base clip, right? Asmongold being clipped saying white people's land in one of the most based one of these most base forms here because it's true. So you see this Conan the Barbarian photo of Asmongold, which I thought was hilarious. Because Right Wing Cope, if you don't know, Right Wing Cope is a clipping account. They basically just clip some of the best takes from the right wing and post them for left wingers to scree about. And so this is the clip, and it's from Asmongold, and this is the one that's being used to contrast against some of Nick's recent comments from last night. And those comments from Nick are basically saying, you know, I don't care what color you are. If you were born here, you have a birthright. This is your country, and people didn't like that, right? Civic nationalism being contrasted against the comments from Asmongold.
And so that's it. America is not white people's land. That's Europe. Well, it is. It is. It absolutely is white people's land. We fought a war over it. Duh. It got conquered. What? Absolutely, it is. It's been our land for hundreds of years. Of course. Obviously, it got conquered. Yes.
So that's the clip that you have flowing around. I think Hassan even reacted to it earlier. And this is good. This is good. You know, this is what we need. We need more of this kind of proliferation. These ideas, and quite frankly, I believe he is the biggest streamer in the world. I'm not sure how true that is. I believe he became the biggest streamer in the world once he started multi-streaming after he moved, I think, primarily over to Kick or something like that. But we need that. And is Asmongold now further right than Nick Fuentes? I don't know. Is that the environment that we're in? Is that the direction we're going? No, I don't. And again, no, I will hold my peace until the fat lady sings. I would like to see Nick expand on that take earlier, because to be quite frank, I don't think that's what he was getting at, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just an idiot. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm retarded, but you already all knew that. Yeah, deport Hassan in a shot collar. Don't deport Hassan. Just make him wear the shot collar. And give Asmongold the controls. That's what I would really like to see. But that's it for that short bit there with Asmongold. I wanted to make sure I covered that because I thought it was pretty impressive that he was willing to say it. And obviously, people are probably already calling for him to be banned and suspended off of Twitch. Who knows if they will? I doubt they will. I think Twitch is kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place with their big guys because they lose a lot of revenue if they bounce them out like that. And then with all the other platforms and Asmongold probably being willing to move to a different platform, it's not going to be a good business decision for them to suspend him. So I doubt they will. So getting to the TPUSA Charlie Kirk event, which seemingly is supposedly a part of this dialectic that I was not aware of. This is the text that I woke up to. This is the post that I woke up to. Put this on screen. This is the post that I woke up to from Crusader Pepe. He says, anyone talking about JD Vance hugging Erica Kirk is an enemy. They are literally shooting conservatives in the streets. Okay. So I just said, okay, let's be enemies. Because no one's going to tell me what I am allowed to talk about. And certainly not an anonymous frog account. Certainly not an anonymous Pepe frog account that is not hardly as extreme or as base as we would like them to be. But I have followed Crusader Pepe for quite some time. And what followed from this interaction, I'm telling you, is like the most dishonest and disingenuous conversation I think I've ever had with somebody in my entire life. But I was a manager said, okay, let's be enemies, right? This is Seth Dillon level tactics. Anyone talking about JD Vance hugging Erica Kirk is an enemy. Why? Why? So my mom is an enemy? What? What does this even fucking mean besides poisoning the well? To say that anyone talking about this conversation is distracting and they're taking away. Okay, hey Crusader, anyone with a eyeball that can see saw Erica Kirk caressing JD Vance. I don't care if it was for a second and a half. Listen, if you guys get cheated on, does it matter if it was 5 seconds or 10 minutes? Would it fucking matter? No, it wouldn't. It'd be, I got cheated on. That's what's gross. The optics were bad. But she's caressing him, right? Let me find that photo. Do I have a photo? I imagine I'd have to. Right? She's wearing latex pants. She's caressing him. Like, what is this? This is so, it's just weird, right? It's weird. No, this isn't even me. No, here's the part. I'm not even sitting here saying like, wow, are they having a secret affair? Like, no, I think that's stupid. I don't think they are. Like, I think the door's open to that. But this is not appropriate, and certainly not appropriate for a Christian mother whose husband just was publicly executed in front of the world to see. Erica Kirk has been a major humiliation to Charlie from the moment he has passed. Be mad about that all you want. But what Crusader Pepe is not going to do is say, oh, you're not allowed to have a conversation. You are an enemy if you talk about it. I have the video put up here, and that's what and I'll make the point again. Here, let's watch the video. Okay. That makes it less weird. This makes it less weird. And the thing is, I'm going to open it up for call-ins. I would like to know what people would disagree on this, but no. That is weird. And what's funny was that was all the extent of the comment was going to be that I was going to make. Was it's just fucking weird. And if you don't think that's weird, then dude, quite frankly, we're not on the same team. I'm not in the position to be bringing along, like, listen, I'm gonna be as honest as possible with you guys. I'm never and probably will never be good at having good like audience interaction because I think a lot of you are fucking retarded. And I think a lot of you are the reason why we are in these positions. I don't, and I'm not trying to say it's all of you, but I will be honest. Like we're here today because men aren't the men we need them to be. We're here today because we have many men before us allowed for this situation to take its place. And I'm here because I have a family, I have a daughter, I have a wife, I have people I care about. I don't give a shit. What I care about is why the people who are brigading as the conservatives, who are putting on that they are the most Christian and trad, and we're standing up for family values, are doing the most despicable, most awful optics, weirdest shit of all time. My own mother looks at this shit and goes, what the fuck is going on? If you are defending this, you are purposely going out of your way to defend something that shouldn't be happening. I cannot for the life of me understand where this effeminate gatekeeping is coming from people like Crusader Pepe, Viva Fry, and people probably in this chat as well. This shit is weird. Just say it. Just say it. It's all you have to say. It's weird. We can move on. I don't think this means like she's like this great kind of like overwhelming like connection to like she's a pageant. She's secretly like the secret spy and she was going to do this. Like, no, like I think it's a bad look for your husband to be executed. You do this weird girl boss thing. All of your tears seem fake. And not once, but twice, you're caressing men. Terrible optics. And it is weird. And it wasn't just JD Vance. She did it with Jesse Waters. Now look at this one with Jesse Waters. Chat's going crazy because they want me to be pro that. Funny. But take a look at this. Look at this one. I saw this one too. So we don't have to listen to it because quite frankly, it's retarded. Boom. 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 My husband just died. Touch. My husband just died. Touch. And what's with this, dude? What's with this whole like dampening of the eyes constantly? And it's because she's wearing a shitload of makeup. Having to do it over and over and over again. This might not be the one that Pearl Davis posted. But it's weird, man. And that's as far as I would take it, right? Because it's weird. But the part that I have a problem with is the fact that Crusader Pepe says anyone talking about it's an enemy. Okay, well, you set the terms, I'll accept them. Then we're enemies then. We're enemies then. What else is there to say? You think because you have 20,000 followers on X, that means like you have somehow gained authority over what I'm allowed to talk about, what I'm allowed to think is weird, Hey, Crusader Pepe, fuck you. This is no different than what Seth Dillon does. Oh, we know what's better. We know what we need to make sure we can keep out of the movement to keep it whole and healthy and make sure we're focused on the right direction. Get off your fucking high horse, you anonymous green frog. He probably will never see that because I'm a literal nobody. But dude, of all the things that I saw today, what irritated me the most was seeing a guy I followed forever become the people I had also been fighting against alongside him. No, you don't know better than anybody else. And sometimes your takes are awful, dude. Like, him and Smash Balls, and there's a few other ones that kind of float in this area where they're like, they're Christian, they'll be publicly Christian, but they won't go to where we need them to be. They keep defending the bullshit we keep saying from the Trump administration. And that's not what we need. What we need is this continual, same thing that's happening to JD Vance, the groiping of JD Vance that's not going to stop. And that's what we're going to go to next, because the main part of what this actual event was about, what it's seemingly not being about now, is the student addressing JD Vance. And more so than the student's question, and it not really being much of a gotcha because JD does basically address everything, it's what JD Vance says in a continual long form kind of response to this question. And so we're going to take a listen, and it's on two fronts. One, for the Israel element, and secondly, on Usha Vance converting. Now that part caught my attention a bit more because I don't think he's ever even said anything publicly about that. Maybe even said that too. But we'll cover it, and we'll also take a look at the reaction that people had to JD Vance's remarks on that. So let's take a listen.
I'm a Christian man, and I'm just confused why that there's this notion that we might have owe Israel something, or that they're our greatest ally, or that we have to support this multi-hundred-billion-dollar foreign aid package to Israel to cover this, to quote Charlie Kirk, ethnic cleansing in Gaza. I'm just confused why this idea has come around, considering the fact that not only does their religion not agree with ours, but also openly supports the prosecution of ours.
Yeah, so let me say a few things about this. First of all, when the President of the United States says America first, that means that he pursues the interests of Americans first. That is our entire foreign policy. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to have alliances, that you're not going to work with other countries from time to time. And that is what the president believes, is that Israel, sometimes they have similar interests to the United States and we're going to work with them in that case. Sometimes they don't have similar interests to the United States. And this example, the most recent Gaza peace plan that all of us have been working on very hard for the past few weeks, the president of the United States could only get that peace deal done by actually being willing to apply leverage to the state of Israel. So when people say that Israel is somehow manipulating or controlling the president of the United States, they're not controlling this president of the United States, which is one of the reasons why we'd be able to have some of the success that we've had in the Middle East. Now you ask about, sort of Jews disagreeing with Christians on certain religious ideas. Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the realities is that Jews do not believe that Jesus Christ is the Messiah. Obviously, Christians do believe that. There are some significant theological disagreements between Christians and Jews. My attitude is, let's have those conversations. Let's have those disagreements when we have them. But if there are shared areas of interest, we ought to be willing to do that too. For example, one thing I really, really care about is the preservation of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. Christians believe that that is the site where Jesus Christ was crucified, and also that his tomb is right there as well. My attitude is, if we can work with our friends in Israel to make sure that Christians have safe access to that site, that's an obvious area of common interest. I am fine with that. What I'm not okay with is any country coming before the interests of American citizens, and it is important for all of us, assuming we're American citizens, to put the interest of our own country first. That's what we're going to do. That's what we try to do every single day, I promise you. Thank you.
And Forgive me, because I don't know if I got the.
I'm a Christian man.
I get the conversion one. Actually, I thought they were in the same clip. Forgive me. GD Vance convert Usha. Is it this one? Yeah. Okay. I forgot. There's two major ones. The one was talking to the Groiper dude. The one's talking to this Indian chick. So let's take a listen to this one. This one is more. I'm assuming this is a quote from the caption here, but it seems to be, right? He's like, I asked my wife Usha Vance to convert to Christianity and leave the Hindu religion. And he did say he wanted her to become Christian. So let's take a listen to this one too.
And yes, my wife did not grow up Christian. I think it's fair to say that she grew up in a Hindu
so
family,
quiet.
but not a particularly religious family in either direction. In fact,
Ready for this?
when
Let me
I met
work some
my
magic
wife, we
here.
were both, I would consider myself an agnostic or an atheist, and that's what I think she would have considered herself as well. You know, everybody has to come to their own arrangement here. The way that we've come to our arrangement is she's my best friend. We talk to each other about this stuff. So we've decided to raise our kids Christian. Our two oldest kids who go to school, they go to a Christian school. Our 8-year-old did his first communion about a year ago. That's the way that we have come to our arrangement. But thank you.
So I'll tell you right there, I don't know if this is the first ever public comments he's talked about specifically with his children. But upon looking into it, it's like his eldest kids are actually going to, I don't know, I think it's one of them actually. He's going to a Christian school, you know, and he's talking about their partaking in communion. These are good things. Obviously, this is what assimilation looks like. Now, when he gets to Usha, though, he is going to talk about the fact that she still is not Christian.
My 8-year-old was also very proud of his first communion. Thank you, guys. I'll tell him that Ole Miss wishes him the best. But I think everybody has to have this own conversation when you're in a marriage. I mean, it's true for friends of mine who are in Protestant and Catholic marriages, friends of mine who are in, you know, atheist and Christian marriages. You just got to talk to the only advice I can give is you just got to talk to the person that God has put you with, and you've got to make those decisions as a family unit. For us, it works out. Now, most Sundays, Usha will come with me to church. As I've told her and I've said publicly, and I'll say now in front of 10,000 of my closest friends, do I hope eventually that she is somehow moved by the same thing that I was moved in by church? Yeah, I honestly do wish that, because I believe in the Christian gospel, and I hope eventually my wife comes to see it the same way. But if she doesn't, then God says everybody has free will, and so that doesn't cause a problem for me. That's something you work out with your friends, with your family, with the person that you love. Again, one of the most important Christian principles is that you respect free will. Usha's closer to the priests who baptized me than maybe I am. They talk about this stuff. My attitude is you figure this stuff out as a family, and you trust in God to have a plan, and you try to follow it as best as you can, and that's what I try to do.
So here's the thing. I don't believe that being genuine at all. I think this is, again, more positioning from JD Vance, but it doesn't matter. Well, I mean, it does matter, but here's why it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because whether he believes it or not, he's saying it publicly. And that's what we need. We need him to be sending the signal, right? If he is supposed to be, and we're getting JD Vance to be, you know, this far right, if you will, that opens the door for other candidates to pop up just alongside him, pushing it a little bit further beyond that. But this is good, and I think this does show. I mean, when I had seen this, both of these clips kind of back and forth between the last few days, I think it's obvious that there's huge shift in rhetoric. Now, whether this is a pivot to maintain some level of control, I find it to be more so reflective of the fact that they either accept it, bend the knee, or be crushed. And I don't think JD Vance is willing to throw away his, I mean, think about it now. Going on, almost a decade of plotting and planning to be lined up to be the president. I mean, I'm sure he's not willing to throw that away for one bad moment. I'm sure he'll do the dance. He's been doing the dance for Peter Thiel this entire time. He'll do it for whatever crowd will get him into power or him in office. And I think then at that point, if that's kind of the way you're kind of, and the way I would kind of look at JD Vance, then it kind of foretells, then what is his kind of end goal? Right? What is he getting out of this at the end of the day? clearly down to be used. He's clearly down to be the face for Peter Thiel. He's clearly down to be the beard, right? I think somebody said that earlier, to be the beard for Palantir, to be the beard for all of these elements that we don't like that exist in the upper echelons of our, elite classes, if you will. And specifically for him, it's venture capital and private equity. Then it's good. And I think it's good. And we're going to get more of this, I would imagine. We're going to get more of the griping of JD Vance. And I do think it's an overall very strong positive. The reaction, though, to what we're seeing, let me find this here, is right here. And I'm not going to read all of this, but it's basically going, oh, woe is me. She gave up his career for him, trusted him to make 3 kids with him. And this is such a betrayal dressed as piety. Newsflash. The husband is the head of the family. And what he says goes. Done. There's no betrayal there. It's just the way it is. He gets the final say. And JD Vance's final say is, I want her to be Christian. Good. And the way he explained it does seem like maybe she's just like a basic liberal secularist. But it's good. I mean, we need more of this to be in the public rhetoric. And I think specifically because, when you see statements given out like Kevin Roberts and others, when they talk about, oh, this, all of this pro-white and this anti-Israel and all this rhetoric is just so much. There's so much of it. And it's like, who? What? It's like where? It's like on X, behind like a lot of blocks, behind a bunch of these different accounts, right? Like where's the pro-white rhetoric beyond like Nick Fuentes and insert, other smaller streamers here? Where is that coming from? Right? And like that's what needs to be. And I'm glad for it. So whether he believes it or not, it's good that it's out in the sphere, in the public, if you will. Similar to the drawing straight lines with crooked sticks. That kind of analogy there. That's really what I wanted to cover for the TPUSA event. I could go deeper into it with Crusader Pepe, but I don't want to make myself mad again. So we have 2 other kind of stories we could get into. I think we were going to cover the Tim Pool suing his former employee. Let's cover that one. Then we'll get into the community submission, and we'll do the gay of the days, and then we'll wrap it up, and everybody has a good rest of Halloween. So this right here is let me switch it here. So it's from Media Right. But Tim Pool is suing his struggling former employee for thousands, shortly after bragging that Timcast is worth $800 million. Tim Pool is suing former employee with at least one young child, who an off-the-record source tells Media Right News is already struggling financially. This comes shortly after Pool bragged that his company is worth almost $1 billion. He posted to X that Timcast is worth $800 million. Now, if you look at this, that's all I needed to see because I already knew who Chris Burtman was before, and that is the defendant, Christopher Burtman. Now, what are the allegations? The summary of this case is this. Timcast Media Group sued former employee Christopher Burtman on October 1st in West Virginia Northern District Court, alleging violations of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act and breach of contract. The suit, brought by Louis Guiona PLLC and Lex Nova Law, claims that Burtman wrote articles for competitor The American Beat under the pseudonym C. Charles, while on paternity leave, and used Timcast social media accounts to promote the competing media company. The court action further alleges Burtman violated his confidentiality agreement and exceeded authorized access to company computer systems. The case is 325CV-00151. Timcast Media Group Incorporated versus Burtman. And then he obviously had no statements beyond that. He said, my comment is the contents of the lawsuit. However, an anonymous source with knowledge on the subject but not directly related to the lawsuit also told Media Right News because Timcast and its various related companies have fired and rehired and shuffled so many employees, it's hard to say whether any particular employee's contract would still be valid were it not renewed once they were transferred. So this isn't meant to be any expansive story by any means, but it is to show and shed a little bit more light into who the person is behind Timcast IRL. That is Tim Pool, and I think Tim Pool has showed himself many times before that money is obviously a strong value of his, if not the singular leading value of his. Obviously, the way he carries himself on YouTube would let you know that, yes, he would do anything to make sure that money and ad revenue is still coming in. Here's kind of my take on that story. I guess, like, I kind of don't, like, I guess I don't get it. I'm not sure what the damages are, you know, and I'm sure more will come to light because people are going to eat the story up like crazy because Tim's an easy, everybody loves tech, you know, hating on Tim. Then I'm like, why can't you just part ways with the guy? Now, obviously, I'm not in a position where I have all these employees and like getting signed into contracts and like who knows how much that would have actually been harmful. But if Chris Bertman did do that, I mean, like, yeah, like, what did you expect? And so, you know, if you're on maternity leave and you're using the official accounts to get boost, you know, and you're reposting things or doing things or, you know, using other people's materials to help boost a competitor, then I can completely understand. It's more so just like I don't know. I guess maybe I have this kind of delusional idea, and that's exactly what it is. It's delusional. I think maybe I am delusional at the end of the day. Maybe I just have this delusional idea that if I was in this position, then I would just like fire the guy. I wouldn't like sue them. I'd obviously be angry and irritated, and I'd like blacklist the guy, and I'd be like, "Hey, dude, nobody hire this guy. He'll steal your stuff and use it for his own gain." But I don't know if I would sue him. And maybe it's not even being brought by Tim. Maybe the prosecution, the legal counsel recommended that he pursue this and for certain liabilities, and maybe it's legalese. I don't understand, but you know, maybe we're putting too much of an image on there. But I only saw this as of a couple of hours ago because David Riley had reposted it. So I'm gonna imagine that'll come into the news a lot more. And Chris Bertman was somebody who I had been decently familiar with because he had some viral tweets there a while ago. I think he still has about 10K followers on X. I don't know if he tweets that much anymore. But there you go. That's the story. Tim Pool once again suing. Very Tim Pool of him, you know, to do so. Tim should force him to listen to his show. Maybe. You know, and funny enough, I'm honestly surprised that Shane Cashman has existed in that kind of matrix for as long as he has. I feel like he'd be itching to leave at the first drop of the hat, but that's neither here nor there. And so with that, we are going to today get into the community submission.
This is today's community submission.
Today's community submission is brought to you once again by House AI. And it goes something like this. The New York Attorney General is targeting a castle, or really more so the real estate dealings of a castle in West Virginia. And the question is why? Why is Letitia James targeting this castle in West Virginia? So the owner of this estate, Peter Brimelow, is an author and a public intellectual who is known for his writings pertaining to strong restrictions on immigration. Also consistently attacked as a white nationalist and white supremacist, specifically my left-wing groups like the SPLC and the ADL. But so far, this does appear to be that he is the target of a politically motivated lawfare from none other than Letitia James, who tried doing the same thing to Donald Trump. Similarly, also over a real estate evaluation. Now it continues on. They also placed Peter Brimelow and his nonprofit VDARE, VDARE, on hate list. Letitia James is alleging that there are financial improprieties, I don't even know how you say that, that's connected to this West Virginia real estate deal, largely arguing that they had nefariously used this real estate deal to funnel money through it. And they started this investigation back in 2022, and they only brought charges last month. I'm going to tell you right now, there needs to be a statute of limitations over how long investigations can be. And as I was reading through this article too, there's one segment where it talks about how at the drop of a hat, they were commanded and subpoenaed, I believe it was like 70 times. And one of the requests was for like 40 gigabytes of emails. I mean, can you think about how long that would take you to like organize and then send over? Like if they wouldn't accept like you just sending like a Gmail thing over or not. And But the statute of limitations on investigations, it's like if you don't get anything that's meaningful by like 8 months in or a year in, it's like you got to call it. You can't be expected to open the doors to your home for 3 straight years for cops to come in and out. I mean, at that point, they're going to have extra things they can charge you with because they're going to be a part of your life, you know, and there's just so many laws you can potentially break. It's like, I find that to be egregious, to be quite honest with you. But so far, it's already cost him over $1 million in legal fees. And that forced him to pull the plug on his VDARE, on his nonprofit. And the Brimelows are arguing, and as I would expect them to, they're arguing that the allegations are baseless. And, quote, here's a response to all that. We are completely innocent, end quote. It is the Berkeley Springs Castle that is a target in West Virginia, and that his nonprofit brought in 2020 for $1.4 million, or purchased, bought in 2020. And it was largely a purchase, and you know why they purchased this castle out in West Virginia? It was meant to help facilitate events on 2 terms. For one, because they had already been forced out of over a dozen venues for their political views and other kind of group events they were trying to do. That it was for 2 reasons. One, initially kind of thought maybe this could also be a place that can facilitate events that we won't get kicked out of. And secondly, that they would rent it out to people to make money to then also be able to facilitate these events when they're being cut off and the doors being slammed on them at the last minute. And Letitia James took all of that and basically built a case off of it. And everything from Zero Hedge, the article from Zero Hedge, basically makes it out to be that this is a very retarded case being pursued. And if anything shows that, I mean, think about the political climate we are in. Think about how every element of it makes it feel like we are, for lack of better words, winning. Like the left is losing, the right is winning. Now take that as far as you know, you can have the nuance inside of that. And still, despite all of that, because local and state elections matter still, as they always have, there's still left-wing activism being wielded by people who should not be wielding it. Hence, Letitia James. And so to think about this guy who's losing how much, like millions of dollars into legal fees to just continually show up, continually subpoena, like I would imagine that becomes a second job at a certain point. Having to pay attention to your email to respond to specific things, having to ensure that you're always giving over the right troves of files so that you don't so you don't catch a second charge for obstruction of justice or whatever else they may want to come with you with. It's disgusting. The article is here. This was from Zero Hedge, and again, thank you to House for sending it to me. Put on screen for you guys to see as well. That's the picture of the castle there. It seems to be a little small. Looks like it's almost kind of like a, the private castle, like a private getaway place. I wouldn't imagine that many people would spend, get a vacation home there or spend a few nights there. But it seems pretty nice. And West Virginia is kind of remote in regards to, nearby locations or destinations. But as you go through here, they just talk about how, and it's the similar things that they did with Donald Trump, right? It's what they do is there'll be here's a status quo transaction, right? Very typical. It's very common. This transaction happens when these things are in place, so, okay. And then here we have Letitia James inverting it and looking at it from the complete and erroneous lens, which is, oh, these things never happen. This is a sign of a red flag. This is a sign. This is enough for probable cause. You need to look into it and go deeper into it. And it's really just to show you, to piggyback off of the article of, is woke dead? No, it's not. It is fully alive, and it will, it's going to be here for a long time. I don't know what it's going to take to actually, get rid of it. I think even in a victory condition for us, it's like, there's still maybe 3% to 5% people are woke, even if 80% are Christian and America first. It's like, that's winning conditions, majority and all that. But I don't know how you get rid of it completely. Right? Because at the end of the day, the left is the ideology of the misfit, of the broken natured, of the degenerate, of the non-American. So it will always exist. As long as there are As long as there are evil and ugly people being born, woke will exist. This demand that everyone be brought down to their knees to come down to the lowest levels of the hierarchy will always exist. It's a question of, can we get enough people to not think like that, though? Can we get enough people to not think like they are entirely and inherently, entitled to certain things or deserving of such? Thank you very much for the gifted, brother. I appreciate that. From AI World Champion. Thank you very much for that, brother. I do appreciate it. We're going to have a lot of members in here now, huh? That's awesome. 5 more. I need to go check and see what I'm at, actually. I might be getting close to 200. But I do appreciate that greatly, man. Thank you very much. And I am getting into a bit more of a rhythm, so expect members content every week. Every week. Whether it's on Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. Those are the 3 days I'll try to push out some members content. But thank you very much. Appreciate that. You are now a watcher. Is that what I named it? I think that's what I named the tier 1, I believe. Pretty sure. I could be wrong about that. I don't know. But thank you again for House for that. I do appreciate it. Yeah, woke is not dead. We need to continually make sure we are paying attention to our local and state elections as well. These things do matter. They always will matter. And it is a great kind of story to look into to show you like the level of lawfare they will drag out and wield over you to silence you, to crush you. And I'm going to be honest with you, those kind of tactics need to be expunged and excised from American society, period. This whole kind of like, whether it falls under gatekeeping or like, subversion's another thing, but like this, the gatekeeping and this, and the lawfare, all of it, like, I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know if we're going to have to like repeal a bunch of stuff and basically dumb down how court cases need to be. We got to get rid of this. Like all of these mechanisms, all of these, like these very Jewish lawyer mechanics to just like basically rape the life out of somebody's wallet. Done. Donezo. Have to, whatever it takes to remove those things from society. Because it's just not American. It just isn't American to allow so many different mechanics in American society to be utilized and wielded to crush any kind of political ideas or ideology that people don't like. Get rid of it. And with that, let's go ahead and get into the gay of the day.
The gay of the day.
So the gay of the day today is once again in the same light as, what's the word? Oh shoot, that might go off a second time. Let me get rid of that actually. I apologize. Just because I don't want people to have to. Okay. I'm going to have to fix that. I don't know why it wants to go a second time. But thank you again. I do appreciate the memberships. I do appreciate them. But this is from Aiden Zitter. Once again, the same guy who has been on a bit of a public profile rise ever since he had been outspoken about the Young Republicans group chat leak and his friend who was involved. Really glad I got to see this. With the whole world bearing down on me as a young man, I thought to myself, I want a woman to tell me what I need to do to be a better man, as well as while offering nothing in return. He continues, women have tons of Christian handcuffs for how we're supposed to act, but they disappear when it's time to rein in the harpies and promiscuity in their ranks. And this is because there is once again another viral clip floating around of Ali Beth Stuckey being everything that we are fighting against in the Christian category of feminism. It is wanting your cake and eating it too. It is wanting to have the best of both worlds by offering nothing. It is the same continual message. And if anything, this is actually making it worse. I'm going to tell you right now and again that the more that Ali Beth Stuckey does this, the less men will know Jesus Christ. And I mean that not to be offensive in any way, but man, she is going to be clearing the pews out from young men who otherwise want to be there, because she herself is not an example of what a Christian woman is supposed to be. She continually subverts it to this day. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to be very serious. This is a problem. This is why men are, and to be quite frank, this is why men are also going to the, Lord, dude, I can't speak. the apostolic churches, right? This is why men are going to Roman Catholicism. This is why men are going to Orthodoxy. They want structure. They want to go to places that will tell women to shut up. They want to go to places that will tell women like, hey, yeah, if you can't offer your husband virginity, you probably don't need to be telling him how he needs to lead as a man. You both have given up on what you are supposed to be. So let's take a listen. What is Ali Bestaki say here? What am I so irritated at?
That feminism has failed women. Second one, are you ready? Are you ready? Porn has weakened men.
I agree with this. I agree with that take.
And you know, Charlie was so good at talking about this and so good at talking so courageously and sternly and clearly to the young men.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Was that super loud? Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't take that filter off. I am so sorry, guys. I apologize greatly. It's because that one was so... I'm sorry. Trust me. Okay, we're getting it fixed.
Here's what we know about porn and why it is so detrimental.
Okay, we're going to restart that. That was bad. I'm so sorry, guys. You know why I could hear it? Because my phone's sitting over here, like beside the desk, and I just felt it like vibrate. I was like, oh, dude, I am very sorry. I apologize if I broke anybody's system, by the way.
That feminism has failed women. Second one, are you ready? Are you ready? Porn has weakened men.
I'm sorry.
And you know, Charlie was so good at talking about this and so good at talking so courageously and sternly and clearly to the young men. Here's what we know about porn and why it is so detrimental, not only to men, although it disproportionately affects men. Porn objectifies women and children. It commercializes sex, which is a gift from God for a married couple between one man and one woman, and it glorifies violence. It creates addiction and shame. It destroys marriages. It ruins your perception of other people. It is the legal loophole for sex trafficking. It is evil in every way, and it will destroy your life. And this is what I would want to say to men, and I hope that you hear it from strong men in your life.
All right, Abby, I'm going to stop you right there because I need to make this point. Who, when you guys think of porn stars, do you typically think of men or women? Anyone have any guesses for me? When I say they were a porn star, do you typically think of men? No. So, Ali, pack this up a little bit. Women are the suppliers here. Obviously, that doesn't mean men get to escape accountability. But do you see how this is clearly, we are a minute and 9 seconds into a clip of her own speech, and she is clearly and obviously framing a problem to be oriented towards one sex over the other. Who is the suppliers? Women. Secondarily to that, who's the majority of OnlyFans creators? Women. Third to that, do you know what the chances are versus like what the career path for a woman who wants to try porn out versus a male? Yeah, don't look into it and you already know the answer. One sex has a much easier time than the other. On top of all of that, when you look at the actual, the levels of depth, like she's right, she's talking about it's violent, right? We need to start having the conversation over women's reading materials. Now we could go pretty in depth on that there too, but clearly the idea here is that she's obviously framing it towards men as if this problem is more of a male coded problem than it is a female problem. And it's like, dude, no, it's not. It's entirely the other way around. It's like And it's honestly despicable too, because you know that the average age if someone comes into contact with pornography is 11 years old. So you're now we're blaming, now this 11-year-old is responsible for the pornography that came across his screen. Really? That's the argument we're going with? That the average 11 to 10-year-old in this country is exposed to porn. It's their fault, because that's where most of the addictions start. They don't start at 18. They don't start well 3 years into college. They start early. They start well before you get there. They start mainly during the adolescent period, during puberty. How about we just ban it? This doesn't seem like any crazy move. How about we just say things like we should ban porn without you trying to blame men? Like, I don't even understand this, right? I don't even get it. I don't even get the framing. But again, this is because she is literally a feminist. She has no self-awareness of herself.
That men, we need you. And we need your masculinity. And we need your strength. And we need your boldness. And we need your courage. And we need those things to be harnessed for good.
Okay. All right. I'm on the scene, Ellie. Okay. You can shut up now. I'm here. Do you think that she'll stop talking? Because this is the point. This is the contradiction. We need men to be more masculine. We need you to lead us. And then when men say, okay, all right. Now, obviously this is shorthand. But again, even if they did, the point stands. Okay, shut up. We're here. Let us take the reins. They go, no, well. You can't. I mean, you can't have the contradiction, right? You can't. And I mean, imagine going to these lengths of all of this, knowing that she's not going to give this up. She's not going to give up this grift. And where is her husband at that? It's just sad, and it's very overtly contradictory.
We need you to be solid pastors. We need you to be strong leaders. We need your voice. We need you to bravely stand up for the most vulnerable, to stand up for women and children and for the unborn, to raise a respectful ruckus for the things that matter. We need really strong men, and porn makes you weak.
This is kind of the contradiction, right? Of I let my husband lead me. Who's the leader then? If you're letting your husband lead you, who is the leader? It's very simple. It's like you are trying to maintain your grasp over that, right? It's like that doesn't work that way. And anytime you see these instances where men go, okay, like, well, what we're saying right now, and again, the most masculine men in this country, the ones who are pushing the hardest for actual Christian nationalist change, outside of the political crowd, right? When you're looking at people like Joel Webbin and Eric Kahn and Stone Choir, and you could just throw in like all these pastors who's putting in work, their research theses, they're annihilating, they're showing you factually, debunking all these other pastors, showing you how weak they are. And what do they all say? What do they all largely agree with? That women need to shut up. The 19th needs repealed. Women's voting rights need to be repealed. But they don't want any of that. Because she only wants the leadership that she says is good leadership. Who then is the leader? That's not submission. This is, but again, I could beat that point like the dead horse that it is, because it's been made a million times. The point is that there's no moving here until the women that are in the top, like the Allie Beth Stuckeys, not the Abby Libby's, but there's a few other ones that are in this kind of sphere. And this isn't just here too. It's not even just in the bigger space as well. We're talking about, at churches at home. We're talking about the political organizations at home. It's like, you need to go home, take care of the kids. The part of the problem is that you're actually here when you're not supposed to be. And there's no getting men to lead if you don't submit first. It's all incentive structure. But people don't get it. People don't get it, right? They do, and it's manipulative, and the whole covert feminism thing. I mean, this is why Andrew Wilson is a blessing to the movement. You know, as much as he might not agree with even my more broader comprehensive view of politically, it's like he at least is doing the work with the females that shows things. And there have been some good bits. I have heard women kind of like, you know, in spaces that he's held, be open with him and be like, you know, it actually didn't click until you basically, you know, you reamed me on it for like, you know, in a space here in a debate. It's just, you know, and imagine saying that, right? Imagine saying that when at the same time, like, where are all the virgin women? It's just a big joke, man. It is just a big joke. And I can only assume they continually say these things because they want men to be demoralized. Like that's what I would say if I wanted men to harm themselves. I would say that. I would push the same message that has been getting pushed from the last 10 years that has went nowhere besides annihilating a lot of people's relationship with Christianity, causing them to feel out of place, like that, like they're homeless almost. Like maybe Protestantism is wrong. Maybe I do need to go to Orthodoxy. Like where must I go where women act and behave as the Bible foretells that they must behave? Why is every pastor, every church I go to giving some ridiculous, you know, giving some, you know, ridiculous kind of spin and interpretation on what Paul clearly said about women? Now, I'll beat this horse until I die. You are scum for taking what is such plain language and interpreting it to mean the exact opposite of what it was there for. Scum, dude. Scum. And it's more than just Christian Zionists. I mean, there's just Christians in general who are doing this. Now, whether it's just out of fear or unwillingness to be truthful, I don't care. You're in the way. You are allowing these conversations to stay in the place they are because you won't move from your faulty position, continually leading more men and women down this faulty path, fucking themselves over, by getting in relationships where they ultimately blow up in divorce is because they weren't actually tied to what the actual true definition of what marriage is supposed to be. Oh Lord, why are men not being more manly? I wonder why. Oh, I wonder. Yeah, I'm very much orthopilled. I'm homeless. I'm a Christian who is homeless because I can't do it. I can't take being lied to when I'm at church. I can't. And truth be told, I tried going back into my Protestant roots. Tried giving the Lutheran church that was near us a chance. So I went for a couple of Sundays. It was pretty solid. Then we went to Sunday. Then we went to the Sunday after the Charlie Kirk assassination. You know what was not mentioned? Charlie Kirk. 4 days after the execution, the assassination, Charlie Kirk's name was not mentioned once. I'll be back next Sunday. The average church in this country is afraid of the truth while acting like they are the number one purveyor of it. It is so disgusting. And so, you know, to all my Protestant friends, I did. I gave it one more chance. And I'm telling you, Protestants have one more chance. Period. I'm not going to up and pack my bags and travel across the entire country to go to maybe possibly one Protestant church that isn't absolutely lying to their audience. Dude, I'd sooner become Roman Catholic. I just want to know. I just want the truth. It's just, and we can all see it too. You know, I think that's what maybe makes me more mad is like how overt and obvious that it is. And this is probably the most honest I've been about my feelings with it, but it angers me, man. It enrages me. And the more that they sit there and hold their tongues, the more it makes me look like I'm like this raging sexist. The more it makes Joel Webbin look like this raging sexist. Well, I mean, we are, but we don't hate women. It makes us look like these beings. And it's like, bro, can you just say what's true? And if you can't, can you at least recuse yourself from being a pastor? If you refuse to speak openly and honestly about the words and teachings of Jesus Christ, Recuse yourself. But who am I to say that as somebody who's like, I'm not even a member of the church? How do we get this accomplished, right? How do we get all these individual churches on like a national level to start getting this kind of, being more active, being more proactive like that? I don't know. I try not to be black-pilled, but that is one thing I'm very black-pilled about. I'm dying to go to church, but man, it can't. My relationship with church can't be me pissed off every time I'm there Sunday. And that's what it is. That's what it ends up being. Because all the signs are there. I can see it. I hear Israel. And then next thing you know, the missionaries are talking about, we're not doing mission trips around Ohio. We're talking about how we can do mission trips in Kenya. It's all the same things, man. It's all the... And, truth be told, I am very appreciative of you guys who are pushing me towards orthodoxy, because that has been the one that has resonated the most with me for quite a bit, right? And Hook says, start a local mission, right? And those are things that I've thought about, but I'm not, I don't have any, what's the word? Like, I don't have any certification, right? Like, I don't have any like schooling or anything. And like, I don't think my theology in particular is strong by any means. I think people I disagree with could probably like put me into a bad spot just because it's not like I debate theology. I have a good grasp on what I believe it to be, obviously. Maybe I should. Maybe I should actually do that. But then then it turns you into Michael Spangler, and then you become what? Toxic material. Nobody's willing to even have like conversation with Spangler. It's like, ooh, he's radioactive material. And it's like, bro, I just talked to the guy. Smart guy, by the way. Nice, was friendly. But it makes you radioactive. Next thing you know, I have SPLC articles written about me, the ADL. But that's part of the risk, though. I can't be telling people to not take risks, to take risks and then not take them myself. That's why I put my face out there, right? It's why I put my face on my page. It's why I say, my name is, I'm Atlas Thugged here. It's my channel, but my name is Aaron Shepard. Like, you can find me. Well, you're not going to find my address, but it's like, this is me. Or like, I have nothing to be afraid of. And the reason why is because I don't do this gay ass dance with my own family and pretend like I say things to them and I don't say things here. It's like, nah, dude. I said them a while ago and was crucified by people then for it. Like, I've been saying this shit, dude. Like, now, as radical as I've come, it's been been speed ran in the last couple of years, but we need more people to do that. Be proactive. Like, say these things. Like, confront, you think about what it says in the Bible too, like especially about the family, right, being divided. It's like, of course it is. And if you cared honestly and truthfully about your family, like you would spend every last effort trying to convey to them what you believe to be the truth. How could you say you loved your family member and let them die living a lie? That's not love. This next one that we'll cover here is Piers Morgan and Katie Miller melting down. This is the longer clip I found. This is from John Miller. He's pretty solid, actually. Where are we going? It's from John Miller, but I hope he doesn't have any crazy sounds in here. I didn't check on it, but I did see this earlier. Let me actually just search it. I don't want to trust John Miller's post now that I'm thinking about it. We just look up Katie Miller, Piers Morgan meltdown. Should find a decently long enough clip here. And I believe it's that one? Yeah, it's this one. Let's take a listen. But basically, she implodes. Basically, she goes nuclear, dude. She has one of the worst meltdowns I think I've ever seen on Piers Morgan. Let me make myself a bit smaller, too, so you guys can see it. Tiny Atlas in the corner. All right, here we go. So, Katie Miller is a lady here in the middle. That's Piers Morgan on the left-hand side, host of the show. This is Jillian Michaels, former trainer from The Biggest Loser, now kind of like political celebrity, I guess. That's Cenk Uygur, and then that's some Arabic-looking guy. He looks Greek, actually. He does look Greek. Okay, here's video.
Totally lying. It's very normal for a Miller to be completely and utterly lying.
Quite frankly, I'm really sick and tired of this racist, bigoted rhetoric that comes from people like you against my husband, against my family, and my children. I am raising Jewish children in this country.
Who brought your children into this? What a weirdo.
Piers, I'm going to be done with this if you're going to allow racist and bigoted attacks against one of your commentators just for the sake that he will not
hang on.
speaking.
Casey, to be clear, Casey, to be clear,
he inserted a line that says the Miller's lie. Is that not coded language for therefore we are Jewish? Come on, Piers. Where are you?
What?
Where are you standing?
God, you're so
Katie,
pathetic.
if I can speak,
Everything's your
if I can speak, listen.
Fire him, cancel him, cancel him,
Chang,
America.
Chang,
oh my God, Israel's
Chang,
feelings have been
Chang.
hurt. Why don't you work for this
All right,
country?
can we try and get
this country?
What's up, Anthony?
You are a guest on my show, and I appreciate you coming on the show, and I like you coming on the show.
And I'm saying
But,
the
you know,
two other
I
guests
think
on
you're
your
able
show
to.
are welcome to participate in these anti-Semitic attacks that is so permeating on CNN and MSNBC.
This is so ridiculous. I'm sorry. I have to jump in here. Somebody criticizing you personally is not an anti-Semitic attack. If somebody says that you are lying, that is not an attack on Jews, that is an attack on you. And just stop hiding behind identity. This is all the snowflake behavior that the right is supposedly criticizing the left for, that you're simply repeating here. Yes, Stephen Miller is a destructive force in American society. That is not an attack on Jews. That is no reference to his identity. This is an attack on him individually, and just deal with the merits of this case.
Yeah. You know, and I think there's an extended version of that too, that you can find where she kind of continues on. That's basically the main part you need to see is like, this is just, that basically sums up that 12-minute segment that they had, which is Katie Miller saying that everything's coded and then that she just knows. And again, this is part of the problem with people gatekeeping. This is part of the problem with having with outsourcing that thought, that kind of process. Oh man, dude, I just scratched myself. To other people, to better men, right? Oh, we know, so let us decide. We know what's anti-Semitism, so we're gonna tell you. It's not how it works, buddy. Especially when everybody disagrees. And then even think, you know, on the global scale, it's like everybody disagrees, right? Everyone disliked that. You know, you bring up Israel in a global conference, and they're like, everybody disliked that. So we'll go to the final one, and then I'm going to go ahead and open it up for I'll open up for call-ins just for a few minutes, just to see if any of you racists want to come talk to me. But here is this, and so this is from Dave Smith. The clip from Charging, and the quote here is the one that matters. This is the main one here. He is willing to debate. So when you sit here, Seth, and say Tucker should have handled him like this, why don't you do it? And this is the point. The point being is that there are a lot of what they call them, armchair quarterbacks. A lot of these individuals like Seth Dillon and many others, right? Like Loomer, which I think Loomer might actually take him up on it, but many others who, Joel Berry included, that are sniping, swiping, and attacking, smearing, but will not actually directly engage Fuentes. And so that's kind of the main point with the clip and the pushback from Dave Smith. But the second thing on top of that is pay attention to Seth Dillon's response, and particularly exactly what he says about gatekeeping. So I'm going to play the thing in its entirety. I will not make any pauses because Dave Smith kind of goes on a rip there. But pay attention specifically towards the end of the clip, what Seth Dillon says about gatekeeping. And here it is.
There's no evidence that Tucker was trying to mainstream Nick Fuentes. What happened here is Nick Fuentes became mainstream. Like, that's just the reality. And anybody can look at this. Like, this is just looking at numbers. It's not like an opinion. He's about as big as anybody in this world right now, up there with them. And in terms of, no, you cannot deduce. Look, I had a socialist, Ben Burgess, on my podcast years ago, because he wrote this book, and it was called something like, Canceling Comedians While the World Burns. And the book was about how there's all these left-wingers who were caught up in cancel culture at the time, canceling Louis C.K. and all these guys, when, look, we still don't have universal health care or universal, all this stuff. And I just interviewed him about the book because I thought it was a really interesting topic. And I didn't argue with him, but you can't deduce from that I believe in socialism. And in fact, what Tucker did on the show was make the point against Jew hatred and make the point against racial collectivism at all, and saying flat out that is just unchristian, and that Christians must judge people as individuals, and that it's not a cuck move to say it's not the Jews, that you have to talk out specific. And the truth is, Nick didn't really give him pushback on that. Now, you could say that is Nick trying to moderate his views or something like that, but I don't exactly know why that's a bad thing. I think I'd probably rather people say, yeah, it's not all the Jews. There are different specific people. But to the bigger point here, I think look, when you say, oh, there's these people with conspiracy theories, they're not connecting dots. Again, yes, that's true. It's also prevalent everywhere. Every single day, Mark Levin gets on Twitter and tweets Tucker Carlson. That's what he calls him every single day. What is that other than a ridiculous conspiracy? There's never been a shred of evidence. Laura Loomer, the most disingenuous person on the internet, once produced a document that said that a group in Qatar was trying to facilitate an interview with Tucker Carlson and a Qatari leader. There's no evidence that Tucker Carlson, the man in his 50s with tons of money, started going on the payroll of Qatar. This stuff is everywhere. And, you know, I would just say that when you say, hey, there are certain views, like I find Alex Jones' view on Sandy Hook disgusting. I find Nick Fuentes' views on race disgusting or something like that. Okay, you know, look, if I'm being completely honest, I find your views on Gaza disgusting. But whatever, man, let's still sit down and talk about it, because what else are we going to do? I mean, how many options do we really have here? We can fight, we can go to war, or we can try to argue this like civilized men and see who's more persuaded by our case. And for all you guys, say whatever you will about Nick Fuentes. You know, I've known him over the years. I don't know him super well, but I do know him. And full disclosure, I got to admit, I kind of like him. I disagree with him on a lot of things, and he disagrees with me on a lot of things. One thing I cannot say about him, he is willing to debate. So when you sit here, Seth, and you're like, Tucker should have handled him like this, Tucker should have screamed bigot at him the whole time, why don't you give that a shot? I bet he'd do it. Give it a shot. See how that goes. See who can persuade more people. Well, I actually don't think that's a very effective way of dealing with anyone's ideas.
Seth Dillon's response.
All right. Well, a couple of things there. First, Nick is becoming more mainstream, and the question is whether or not that's a good thing. You know, I would argue that it's a bad thing that Nick is becoming more mainstream, and that any roadblocks you can put in his path. I think gatekeeping is a good thing. I think it's what keeps movements healthy. It's you keep the rot out, you keep the bad ideas at bay. You know, and I think that
I talked over it right here.
I think gatekeeping is a good thing. I think
gatekeeping is a good thing. There you go. Said Dillon. Admitted himself.
It's what keeps movements healthy. It's you keep the rot out, you keep the bad ideas at bay. You know, and I think that Tucker has a moral responsibility to do that in the position that he's in. So
when you hear this is what defines that argument. When you hear Nick Fuentes say, listen, I understand that you don't understand the First Amendment because you are not an American. Seth Dillon is spiritually leaving. He left being an American a long time ago. That's not how it works in this country, right? So you have on one hand Seth Dillon being the guy, the free market police of ideas, like he'll push that, and then on the other side, gatekeeping. Those are two contradictory beliefs. You either believe in gatekeeping because you believe that the marketplace of ideas shouldn't be free, or you believe in the free marketplace of ideas. It's very, very simple. But he did nail him on that. Absolutely nailed him on that, Dave Smith, which is like, yeah, Seth Dillon, why don't you go do it? Or how about the fact that when Joel Berry had the chance, I listened to live on that space. It was like about a year and a half ago now at this point. Joel Berry was like, no, I'm like, and then leaves the space. Like, what was that? Afraid much? Are you a little terrified? Okay. I'm going to open it up for a call, and I'll probably just do one or two. Let me find the link. I'm going to take a page. I'm going to take a book out of the page. I'm going to take a page out of the book from OTO. See what you guys, I'm sure it'll be disagreements more than anything. Where's the chat? Where's the chat? Where can I type this in? All right, should be seeing a link. Should work. I'm going to go ahead and, I guess I have mute controls over there. Okay. Well, give it a second and see if anybody wants to call in. We can if you would like to, but that's basically today wrapped up in a nutshell. Is we're at the apex point of America first versus Israel first. And in addition to that, obviously there's some confusion about the positioning of Nick Fuentes and the movement to be more mainstream-able. And And again, the specific clip that was pushed out today, probably being the most controversial of all of anything, and that is this civic nationalism, right? This birthright. But again, the way I kind of took that was more so the, a strategy, right? We are so close to seemingly kind of finishing off this ideology, right? We are so close from getting it removed from holding the throne. And maybe in that, you bring in a bunch of people you otherwise wouldn't, just simply to get us over the hump of that. And then maybe we can change the rhetoric after that. I don't know. That's kind of what I saw maybe would be the strategic element from there. At least that's kind of like my thoughts on it. I'm really looking forward to tonight because I really want to know what he will say to it. He's definitely going to address it. I'm just not sure if he'll expand on it or he'll just attack anybody who basically quoted him and wanted to know more. But I thought it was a rough clip. My defense of that overall would be the fact that it was a 44-second clip, like wedged between the front half being once again more attacks on like Josh Hammer and this like the identity of what that is and the continual smearing, and opening up about the Heritage Foundation and Kevin Roberts. Then following after that clip is also him talking about America being a Christian nation and what it means to be a Christian, explicitly naming Jesus Christ, not having this kind of only talking about the Bible or the Old Testament, not naming Jesus Christ. And then going so far as to say what I covered here too, which is like the statement from Kevin Roberts isn't good enough. Where's the rollback from Project Esther? Where's the whoops? We probably should have never done this. And predictably, Kevin Roberts folded. Kevin Roberts wrote a wall of text that I can only assume was edited and procured by his wife, denouncing Nick, disavowing Nick. I'm so abhorred. You know what I'm abhorred by? I'm abhorred by the fact that so many of you know that the fact that there's an extreme problem of organized Jewry. There's an extreme problem of race realism not being recognized. And to what end? To what end are we made to suffer? I'm abhorred by the fact there's not more pro-white movements. I'm abhorred that there's not a single, what feels like to be a single pro-white movement outside of America First. Thank you for the super chat, brother. I appreciate that greatly. I'll put this on screen. Let's do the audio output here. So I can do the TTS.
Dadsky007 has donated $20 and says Christ is king. Here's more money for Indian food. As a classical French trained chef, curry is slightly better than dog food. God bless and peace be with you.
That's funny. Thank you, Abe. That was funny. I appreciate that very much, brother. Thank you greatly. I appreciate that. Yeah, I would say Indian food's better than dog food for sure. I would wager pretty heavily on that. Now, how much better is the question? I'm actually, maybe you guys might not like this, but I am a huge Chinese buffet guy. I am a massive Chinese buffet guy. I could annihilate so many Chinese buffets. They have my face on the wanted posters. You know, you walk into Chinese buffets and there's like the cat that's waving to you. They have them at every single one. I don't know what it is. It's like a cat and it's like closes its eyes and just sits there. Well, behind it, it's like the board and it's like, their times and like different specials. Well, if you look close enough, you'll see me. It's like Aaron Shepard. It's like banned, nationally banned from Chinese buffets. I'm the guy who gets kicked out and they're like, I thought it was all you could eat. Like they're shoveling me out the door. They're like, get out, dude. You've overstayed, dude. Like that cyborg scene from Teen Titans. I think it's from Teen Titans. And and he was like, listen, dude, it's all you can eat. He's like, I'm eating all I can. like you get out. Yeah. You here for an hour? You here for an hour too long. We know what to say. You know what you're doing. You leave now. Dude, I was actually kind of more Indian. You leave now. Okay. Okay. All right. YouTube channel still intact. but we're having fun. Your second coming of Rodzilla. Okay. Well, I don't know if anybody's going to call in. I'll sit here for a little bit. I'll hang out with you guys. I'll sit until we go to 2:20. See if anybody wants to call in. I should have opened it up earlier, to be honest. I haven't done call-ins in a hot minute, but I got it organized for TGRs, and I have it organized for this show. I think I would like to get more call-ins facilitated, especially among disagreements too, right? Hey, are there any women's out there with opinions that I really don't want to hear but will make good content? So listen to the Andrew Wilson light, although none of the substantive information and only shitting on women. It's only cathartic and non-information. I appreciate you guys, man. I guess I could talk about what we have coming up. The Groyper Report, again, that's going to be tomorrow, Saturday, 8 to 10 p.m., me and Josh. We also have the Sunday show, which, Zeb, if you're in here, brother, Lord, send an outline so a Wigga knows what I need to be prepared for. Wigga, you have my Discord. Send me the outline. Oh, we got Josh Vanderrood in here. Oh, my gosh, let's go. Oh, okay. All right, let me bring him in here. Let me find it. Oh my gosh, I've been waiting this whole time. Somebody please call in. Let me grab his link here. Copied. Get him in here. Oh, the man of the hour. What's going on, brother?
You're talking to me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Wait, hold on.
Okay. I hear you. I just wasn't. Perfect. I wasn't sure. What's up, dude? We're back. I'm back in the car again. What is this? The Groyper Report? What's going on here?
I know. Well, I can't tell if you're in your car or if you're in a Jewish tunnel underneath New York City.
Both.
Your takes lately are making me think you've been going to the rabbi, not your pastor.
Well, I'm in a Jewish tunnel under South Carolina. That's the thing. We're everywhere, man.
They extend
when
that
far. Yeah, well, for 2,000 years, we've been scurrying away against the dirt.
I believe it, though. Where are you going? You leaving again this weekend?
No. I'm actually at a haunted trail thing right now for Halloween. But I was listening to the show. I listened to the whole thing live, and I wanted to call in since no one else was.
I appreciate that. Am I intimidating?
Because not to me. You're cute to me. I think you're adorable. But so the one thing I wanted to bring up that I was kind of curious about. I don't want to get in it. We'll save the Nick stuff for the Groyper Report. But the guy, I forget his name already. Pepe Crusader. Pepe.
Yeah.
What is the deal? So I like watching your show. I genuinely trying to steel man. What's his problem with people talking about Eric Kirk?
So that was
because like you said. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I was gonna say that was my point. Like he was gatekeeping the conversation. So the first tweet I saw when I opened my phone today was his tweet that said verbatim, and I'll put it on screen. You might not be able to see it, but I'll read it to you. It says, anyone talking about JD Vance hugging Erica Kirk is an enemy. They are literally shooting conservatives in the streets. So I quoted him, and I'll put that on screen so everybody can see. I quoted him and I said, okay, let's be enemies. Like, if that's the challenge, right? Because obviously what he's doing there is he's framing it, and he followed it up. So the part that I forgot to show is he did respond to that. Let me find it here. One of my recent tweets here. He responded to it, and I put it on screen. So I quote tweeted him again. I'll put this on screen. You won't be able to see it, Josh, but I'll read it to you. Because he says, dude, what? She hugged a friend of her husband who died. What are you even talking about? And I said, anyone talking about ... is an enemy. I said, I'm sorry I didn't realize I needed to check with Crusader Pepe to know what I'm allowed to talk about. And then have the audacity to play coy. You set the terms, I accepted. And then he responds, respectfully, this is who you are agreeing with and pushing this with. And attached to it is a photo from a leftist saying they're sleeping together, and people are going like, "What yikes!" all around. And he says it's a totally fake scandal designed to distract. So then I responded, respectfully, I reacted to what you are pushing. Erica caressed JD Vance's head. It's simple as. It's not fake unless you are suggesting that the photo is. It's bad optics. I don't think anyone can disagree with that. We haven't even mentioned the ridiculous latex. So my argument there really was like, I know what he's doing. I know he's basically saying that anyone who counter signals or says anything at all about this weirdness of Erica Kirk and JD Vance is buying into the left's narrative, right? It's like I could see it from far away. But what pissed me off is when he started to play coy. And then he follows up everything that I says and he goes, "What am I pushing?" And the whole time I'm like, I've grabbed a screenshot of his tweet 3 times in a row. And it's like, he's disingenuous. And I was more so irritated because I'd followed the guy, I think for the last like 3 years. And to see him finally interact with me after I followed him for so long, and it's this disingenuous bullshit, I was like, okay, then fuck you, dude. Like, you are just as bad as Seth Dillon. This kind of gatekeeping and you acting as if you're the purveyor, you're gonna tell people what's allowed to be talked about. Hey, you green frog, non-Groiper green frog, shut the fuck up. that was my take on it.
Well, yeah, and I basically agree because I don't follow the guy. Like I said, I say it all the time on OTO. I'm basically new to Twitter and I'm trying to get everything. I'm trying to get my house in order, you know what I mean?
Right.
But like, so I don't know who this guy is, but it's one of those things where it's like, when Charlie Kirk first died and Erica Kirk did the speech next to his empty chair and then was filming like his hands, it was very weird. But I basically chalked it up to she's grieving.
Right.
And women are extremely emotional and we can't attribute, like, we're trying to attribute rationality to someone who just saw a video of her husband get his head blown off and a geyser of blood shoot out.
Right.
But people back, I remember like when that happened, people were like, "Oh, this is weird. There's something off about her." And I'm like, nah, I don't think. But like as time has gone on, there's more suspicious things that have come up, and it's okay to say that like it's not a good. It doesn't matter who you are or what the context is. You rubbing your hand through another married man's hair on a, let alone just in all, but like on a stage full of people. I mean, what, like genuinely, if it were your husband, how would you feel? And that's the thing is you're not people pointing out how weird that is. You brought up how your mom said that's weird. My mom said the same thing. And they're like, why is it like such a hard line? Like, oh, you're an enemy if you're bringing that up. Oh, because the left, just because the left says something is weird doesn't mean it's not weird.
Right. It kind of goes into that same
or
argument of like Hitler drank water too, right? Like,
right.
It's such an ignorant thing to draw a line on. And I actually wrote out a longer tweet, but then I realized I was like, actually, like he doesn't deserve me being informational because I know he's being disingenuous. So I just said, okay, let's be enemies. I erased it all. But let's even change the scenario. Say as Donald Trump's walking up to the stage, he firmly rubs his hand and he smacks Donald Trump as hard as he can on the ass and then starts giving a speech. Dude, people would be like, well, that was weird. And it wouldn't matter that it only was like a 3-second thing. It was like, it's a very overt and obvious, like, that's not a normal social interaction that you would expect from those kind of people. And so for him to draw that line just shows like between him, Captive Dreamer, the Stephen Miller crowd, like there's good Jews like that. Those people are trying to be the next level of gatekeepers. And I can see it forming. I'd have to get a better, I'd have to look more to see who the mutuals were of Crusader Pepe, but I've noticed that like they seem to be wanting to take on the new reins of gatekeeping the next level of what is America first and conservative in the country. And it's like, no, we are done with gatekeepers. Find yourself in the gates of hell if you want to gatekeep. Get out of here.
Hell yeah, dude. And that's the thing is it's like, why die on that hill? You know what I mean? Like, oh, you're not in the movement if you call that out. What, dude? Are you retarded?
Right. And I do think that they're like, I'm pretty sure he's already like openly said things against Groypers, like not too much though, because you know what happens if you start being too vocal. I mean, you get clapped out. So he's like, he's kind of like, you know, teetering that line. He's not like a Jaden McNeil by any means, but he does kind of come out with some of those really bad takes. Another account like that is The Art of Purpose. They're the one that has that profile picture of Brad Pitt from Fight Club. And they were originally like an account that would regularly interact with like Sovereign Bra on a lot of Christian takes. But over the last few months, they've been like, they're pro Nala Ray. They were one of those accounts that were like, wow, you guys really are questioning Nala Ray's conversion. And it's like, okay, you're either Indian or you're a beta, dude. One of the two, you showed yourself. And it's like, we have to get these people, continually excise them out. And it's kind of realizing that there's layers to it. Like Seth Dillon and Joel Berry are just like the exterior layers. They're the top gatekeepers. And it's like an onion, dude. You're going to have to keep peeling more and more and more layers of all the people underneath them. Now think about like No Soup for Knowles, or Abby Libby. Some of these smaller, like the Girl Club account that's all in the Babylon Bees pocket too. I'm over it, dude. I am excited for the Grape Report tomorrow, though.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited as well. It's going to be a good show. I haven't checked the private chat yet, but I've got some clips to send in there. But we'll, dude, if for those of you watching, go watch the Grape Report tomorrow on what is it? NAV Creator at NAV Creators.
Yes, sir.
And I'll see you guys then.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you calling in, brother. And I think with that, we're probably going to go ahead and call it a wrap. Everybody, thank you for Joshua Vandenord for calling in. I do appreciate that greatly. I appreciate you guys being here, obviously, the chat and everyone who supports me. I tell you all the time, but I'm serious. You know, I fail to articulate how much I do appreciate you guys, and, you know, not even just like super chats and such, but being here, you know, having conversations, being a part of the Discord, sending in memes, all that stuff. I appreciate it. You know, I enjoy it. I enjoy having conversations with you guys. And it's on that note that I'm not taking the night off. I'll be coming back to work. So people like Donnie, Michael Johnson, a lot of people who I've not responded to yet because I'm unfortunately working constantly. I will try to respond to you guys as quickly as I can. But with that, Christ is King, as always, and always was and always will be. Support Kash Patel and ban Pam Bondi from public life, along with every other female that wants to grift and pretend that they are Christian. You guys have a good rest of your night. Happy Halloween to everybody, and I will see you guys tomorrow on the Grape Report at 8 p.m. Peace.
Get up and get out. Get out. Get out.
I have a question for you.
Say Christ is Lord. Say Christ is Lord. Say it. You say Christ is Lord. Get out. Get out. Christ